Chapter 125. This time Xiao Qin also drove at a normal speed. The two cars drove to the Jin family's villa one after another. The Jin family was a relatively weak family among all the well-known families. Old Master Jin did not have much business sense. There were no other good businesses in the family either. They only managed a few medium-sized businesses, which were enough to support the whole family. However, compared with other well-known families, the Jin family was quite poor. Therefore, the Jin family's villa was not very large. It was not as beautiful as those well-known families. The Jin family was just located on the roadside in the suburbs, which was not very eye-catching. Jin Beibei's two cars were probably the best cars in the Jin family. Even old Master Jin's car was just a Wrangler. The arrival of the two luxury cars at the same time immediately attracted the attention of the Jin family. A man who looked similar to Jin Beibei and was about 20 years old walked over. When he saw Jin Beibei, he said happily, "Beibei, you've brought your friends back." "Brother, it's my cousin and cousin-in-law," Jin Beibei said. "Cousin? Cousin-in-law?" Jin Baobao was stunned. Although he knew Cheng Minjing and Cheng Minjing was Jin Beibei's cousin, he did not know who her cousin-in-law was. He wondered which of Jin Beibei's cousins was married? "Cousin." Cheng Minjing got out of the car and nodded at Jin Baobao. Although Jin Baobao was Jin Beibei's cousin, it was not wrong for Cheng Minjing to call him cousin. In a big family they were all relatives more or less. "It's cousin Minjing." Jin Baobao looked at the Panamera. However, when he saw Xiao Qin getting out of the car, he was extremely surprised. If it were before, he would not have felt anything wrong. But now, the Cheng family and the Xiao family had broken off the engagement, hadn't they? Why was Xiao Qin still Cheng Minjing's fiancé? Moreover, Beibei even called him cousin-in-law? This must be a very close relationship. "Cousin, don't listen to Beibei's nonsense. There's nothing between me and Xiao Qin. She's just calling me that." Cheng Minjing hurriedly explained when she saw Jin Baobao's astonished expression. All right." Jin Baobao scratched his head. He knew his sister's character, so he was not too surprised. He could only nod politely to Xiao Qin. "Brother Xiao, welcome to the Jin family." Jin Baobao's friendliness surprised Xiao Qin. He didn't expect that Jin Baobao would still be so polite after he was kicked out of the Xiao family. Of course, Lu Jinming, Yu Xiaochuan, and the others were also very polite, but Xiao Qin couldn't tell if they were really polite or not. Jin Baobao didn't have too much arrogance. He was just easygoing, not like the Jin family's weird people. It seemed that Jin Beibei was the only one who had inherited Master Jin's character. "Brother Bao." Xiao Qin nodded to him. "You're welcome. Please come in. I'll ask someone to serve you tea." Jin Baobao made a gesture of invitation. "Brother, you're not needed here. You can go and ask Grandpa to come out." Jin Beibei said to Jin Baobao. "Call Grandpa?" Jin Baobao was slightly dazed. He looked at Jin Beibei in confusion. "Well, although cousin Minjing and brother Xiao are both distinguished guests, it's not necessary for Grandpa to welcome them in person, is it?" In Jin Baobao's opinion, it was a visit between the younger generation. How could the master of the family come out to welcome them? He dared not bother Master Jin for such a trivial matter. Even if he was not beaten, he would be scolded. Jin Baobao was quite scared. "Brother, just go. Grandpa likes my brother-in-law very much. He even wants me to marry him. Chances are that he will be your brother-in-law in the future." As Jin Beibei spoke, she suddenly noticed that Cheng Minjing's face was not quite right. Therefore she hurried to say, "He is my brother-in-law." However, after she finished her sentence, Cheng Minjing's face became even more awkward. "Beibei, you're a girl. Don't always joke about such things. I used to be Xiao Chen's fiancé. It's fine if I joke about it, but you are going to get married in the future. What if people think that you have a bad reputation because you used to be in a relationship with Xiao Chen? In that case, I will have to be my brother-in-law's mistress," Jin Beibei said indifferently. Cheng Minjing felt that it was impossible to communicate with Jin Beibei. Jin Beibei's theory was infuriating. Although Jin Baobao did not quite believe what Jin Beibei said, seeing that Jin Beibei was so confident, he simply nodded. He was going to tell his grandpa that Cheng Minjing and Xiao Chen had come. As for whether or not his grandpa would come out to welcome them, it would be his own business. After nodding, Jin Baobao quickly walked to the room where old Master Jin was cultivating. At this time, old Master Jin was always cultivating. At the door of the room, Jin Baobao knocked on the door carefully. "Which little b** is knocking on the door? Don't you know that I cultivate every day at this time?" Old Master Jin's angry voice came from the room. After a while, the door was opened with a clang. Jean Baobao stepped back subconsciously and looked at Old Master Jean with a little fear. Jean Baobao, it's you. Old Master Jean widened his eyes and scolded, what's so important about you? If you can't tell me, I will hang you up and whip you today. Oh, Grandpa Bebe is back. Jean Baobao said carefully. In the past, when Old Master Jean was angry, as long as he mentioned Jean Bebe, everything would be fine. As expected, Old Master Jin's face softened a little. He nodded and said, Bebe is back. What's the matter? Bebe came with cousin Menjiang and brother Xiao Chen from the Xiao family. Jean Baobao said. What? Xiao Chen is here? Old Master Jin's face immediately showed a look of excitement and expectation. He quickly pushed Jean Baobao away and strode to the reception room. As he walked, he said, You little B****, why didn't you tell me that Xiao Chen is here? Jean Baobao was a little speechless. Jean Bebe was right. Grandpa was so anxious and excited when he heard that Xiao Chen was here. However, Jean Baobao was also relieved after being scolded. Fortunately, he was not beaten. Thinking of this, he quickly followed them. As soon as Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing sat down, Old Master Jin's voice came, My little friend Xiao Chen, are you here to treat my illness today? After the voice, Old Master Jin also walked in. Grandpa Jin, I'm here today to treat your illness. I promised you before, so I must keep my promise. Xiao Chen nodded and said, Here is a precious medicinal material. You can ask the servants to brew it for you. It will only take 3 hours. Okay. Old Master Jin carefully took the bag that Xiao Chen handed over and then handed it to Jean Baobao behind him. He said, You go and brew it for 3 hours. Don't spoil it. Yes, Grandpa. Jean Baobao was obviously a coolie in the Jin family. His treatment was completely different from Jean Bebe's. Don't throw away the dregs after brewing. You can continue brewing it for about 20 times. They are all good medicines for treating injuries. This was what Elder Heaven Ancestor had told Xiao Chen. Therefore Xiao Chen reminded him. Although it was only a small part of the dregs, it was bought by Xiao Chen with money. It can be used so many times? How many times do I need to take it? Old Master Jin was very surprised after hearing that. Once for the target and twice for the root cause. Xiao Chen stretched out 2 fingers and said, 2 times is enough. That's amazing. Old Master Jin began to doubt whether what he said was true or not. If he didn't think that Xiao Chen would lie to him about such a thing, Old Master Jin would have thought that Xiao Chen was a swindler. After all, Old Master Jin had been to many hospitals. Although the Jin family was poor, they still had connections. Some big hospitals said that they couldn't do anything about it. How could Xiao Chen cure it? However, if Xiao Chen lied, it would not do him any good at all. Not only would he be hated by Jean Bebe, but he might also be driven out of the villa by Cheng Menjing. In that case, he would be shooting himself in the foot. Of course, I'm just estimating. If it doesn't work, I can drink it 3 or 4 times. Don't blame me, Old Master Jin. However, 3 or 4 times is definitely not a problem. Xiao Chen did not make any promises. After all, it was Elder Heaven Ancestor who said that twice. What if it was not accurate? Sich asterisk T, you damn brat. You don't believe me? Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice rang in Xiao Chen's ears. Oh, isn't this the first time that I practice medicine without a license? What if I fail? Xiao Chen said with a wry smile. 3 or 4 times is fine too. Old Master Jin said, not to mention 3 or 4 times, even if I drink it 20 times, it will be worth it. This medicine is very expensive? Xiao Chen had learned to be cunning. Now he was basically the public enemy of all the big families. In just a few days, apart from the Qing family and the Xiao family, the Lu family, the Chao family, the Qin family, and the Qi family all had conflicts with him. Even Yu Xiaochuan of the Yu family was just using him. Now that he had Old Master Jin as his backer, it would be a waste not to rely on him. What Xiao Chen needed most now was time. If he could improve his strength, he wouldn't have to be afraid anymore. If it's really so effective, it must be expensive. Old Master Jin nodded. My young friend Xiao Chen, our Jin family is poor. It seems that I can't afford the medical fees. How about I compensate you with Jean Bebe? Look, she is so cute and beautiful. You can take her home and play with her. Puff, ahem. Xiao Chen said with a wry smile, Old Master Jin, I am Minjing's servant now. So, I don't need to pay you for treating your illness. It must be free of charge. Xiao Chen understood that Old Master Jin was also a shrewd man. If he gave him Jean Bebe, would he dare to play with her? Wouldn't he play himself to death? It was better to give him face. Of course. I don't think you dare to ask me for money, Cheng Menjing said proudly. Haha, if you really cure this old man's injuries, then I, Golden Fur Lion King, will definitely not treat you badly. The reason why old Master Jean didn't give Xiao Chen any promise was that he didn't believe that Xiao Chen could cure his injury with one medicine. Chapter 126. In his opinion, the possibility of Xiao Chen lying was not high. However, it was hard to say how effective it would be. It might be effective, but it would not be that effective. Thank you, Grandpa Jean. Xiao Chen did not think it was a big deal. 3 hours. Only a dozen minutes have passed. Let Bebe show you around the Jean family's courtyard. You can familiarize yourself with it. Come here often in the future, old Master Jean said. Okay. Xiao Chen had nothing to do anyway, so he nodded. It was not the first time for Cheng Minjing to come to the Jean family's residence. She used to come here when she was a child, so she couldn't be more familiar with the place. However, it was the first time for Xiao Chen to come here. Although the Jean family's residence was not very big, it had a rustic style. In the courtyard, various plants, vegetables and fruits were planted everywhere. It could be seen that old Master Jean preferred the rustic style. Cousin-in-law, these cherries are delicious. Jean Bebe pointed at the cherries on the tree when they passed by a cherry tree. Really? I'm going to have a taste. Xiao Chen picked a few cherries casually and stuffed them into his mouth. It was impossible to use pesticides in the Jean family's residence, so he did not need to wash them. It's okay. It's just a little sour. Cousin-in-law, you didn't pick them well. This Bebe is experienced. As Jean Bebe spoke, she picked a big cherry from a cherry tree slightly further away and put it to Xiao Chen's mouth. Cousin-in-law, have a taste of Bebe's cherries? Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. Looking at the cherries in Jean Bebe's hand and then at her breasts, he began to imagine. It would be great if Jean Bebe could give it to me to play with. Xiao Chen, what are you thinking about? Xiao Chen hurriedly put these messy thoughts aside and swallowed the cherries in Jean Bebe's hand. However, the cherries were much more delicious than those Xiao Chen had picked for himself. They were sweet and sour, very delicious. Bebe's cherries are still delicious. Xiao Chen nodded and said. Right? Bebe said that Bebe's cherries are delicious. Jean Bebe nodded. Cheng Minjing was speechless at the disgusting actions of the two people in front of her. What kind of people are they? It wasn't easy for Jean Bebe to find someone like her? How did I get Xiao Chen back? He wasn't like this before. Or was the previous Xiao Chen in disguise? Or was the current Xiao Chen in disguise? Or was he schizophrenic? Oh my god, it's so scary. Cheng Minjing felt scared just thinking about it. However, on second thought, Xiao Chen had always been quite normal. Could it be that he had become a different person after experiencing a huge change? This was also the most reasonable explanation. Hey Xiao Chen, I want to eat too. Seeing that Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe were enjoying themselves, Cheng Minjing suddenly felt a little hungry. She ordered Xiao Chen. Hehe, okay. Imitating Jean Bebe, Xiao Chen went to the woods inside and picked some cherries. However, since they were for the First Lady, he could not do it so casually. Xiao Chen wiped the cherries carefully with his hands. However, when Xiao Chen rubbed the cherries back and forth with his hands, he instilled a bit of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into the cherries unnaturally. With Xiao Chen's capability, it was impossible for him not to leak any of his spiritual energy. However, Xiao Chen had not run into any other cultivators yet. Therefore, he did not need to worry that anyone would discover anything. Done. Imitating Jean Bebe, Xiao Chen raised the cherries to Cheng Minjing's mouth. Cheng Minjing was slightly dazed, but she still bit the cherries carefully and put them into her mouth. After living with Xiao Chen for a long time, Cheng Minjing's immunity to Xiao Chen had dropped. For example, Cheng Minjing could accept feeding her food now. Otherwise, if it were before, how could a guy feed her food in such a way? How intimate must they be? Huh. Cheng Minjing bit open the skin of the cherries, only to discover that the flesh of the cherries was fresh, juicy, and delicious. It was even more delicious than the cherries that she had eaten during her previous visits. Also, it was not only twice but also 10 times, 100 times better. Cheng Minjing was quite surprised. Was it because the cherries were not ripe? But that was not right. The cherry tree had been here for many years. Cheng Minjing almost came here to eat cherries every year, but they were not as delicious as this. Cheng Minjing enjoyed the taste of the cherries very much. Wow, they are so lovey-dovey. Cousin Minjing, cousin-in-law fed you cherries. You are so intoxicated. Jean Bebe giggled and shouted. Oh. Cheng Minjing blushed immediately. She was indeed intoxicated, but it was because the cherries were too delicious. How could it be that Xiao Chen fed her cherries? Cheng Minjing hurriedly explained, Bebe, didn't you notice that the cherries today are especially delicious? Yes, cousin-in-law fed them. Of course they are delicious. Jean Bebe nodded. Cheng Minjing glared at her and was a little embarrassed. She said to Xiao Qin, "Give them to me. I will eat them myself. It's nothing. Bebe likes to talk nonsense." Okay. Xiao Qin gave the remaining cherries to Cheng Minjing. Cheng Minjing picked one up eagerly. She wiped it with her hand and put it into her mouth. But she frowned the moment she ate it. It didn't taste right. Although it couldn't be said that the cherries weren't delicious, they were worlds apart from the previous cherries. After eating the previous delicious cherries, this cherry was simply unappetizing. Cheng Minjing swallowed it reluctantly. Then she picked up another one. However, it tasted even worse than before. Cheng Minjing spat it out immediately and ate another one. The result was not any better. It was not as delicious as before. That's not right. Why are they not as delicious as before? Cheng Minjing looked at the cherries in her hand curiously. They all looked the same. Because cousin-in-law fed them just now. That's why they are delicious. Jean Bebe said with a smile. How is that possible? Do you think I'm as stupid as you? Do you think all the nutrition is stored in my chest? Cheng Minjing naturally didn't believe Jean Bebe's explanation. As for Xiao Qin, he was also very puzzled. Could it be that the cherry had mutated? Cheng Minjing ate a few more cherries. She didn't even have the courage to continue eating them. They were too disgusting. Are they so disgusting? Jean Bebe was also curious. She picked up a cherry in Cheng Minjing's hand and put it into her mouth. But after she ate it, her expression was quite normal. They are the same. There is no difference from usual. Cheng Minjing knew there was no difference. But the cherries just now were really delicious. Cheng Minjing had never eaten such delicious cherries in her life. They are really different. Jean Bebe thought for a while and said, "Well, maybe cousin-in-law made them more delicious for you." Well, Cheng Minjing wanted to say that it was impossible. But after thinking for a while, she realized that this was the only difference. Therefore she decided to give it a try. "Hey Xiao Qin, feed me another one. You're my servant. It's normal for you to serve me." Okay. Xiao Qin took back a cherry from the eldest Miss' hand, wiped it clean and put it into her mouth. However, he was enjoying it very much in his heart. If this little cherry mouth ate something else, would it be even more enjoyable? And he was thinking too much again. What? After eating the cherry, Cheng Minjing looked at Xiao Qin in shock. It was indeed different. That rare taste had returned. It was still as fresh and delicious as before, just like the cherry at the very beginning. After eating it, Cheng Minjing said to Xiao Qin hurriedly, "Xiao Qin, I want more." Xiao Qin picked up another one, wiped it clean and fed it to the eldest Mississippi. He was a little puzzled. What's wrong with Cheng Minjing today? Why does she like me feeding her cherries? Xiao Qin wouldn't believe that Cheng Minjing liked him. "Well, I want more. Don't stop. Go on." Cheng Minjing shouted anxiously when she saw Xiao Qin stop after feeding her another one. Xiao Qin picked up another one, wiped it clean and fed it to the eldest Mississippi. After eating it, the eldest Miss was a little unhappy. "I told you not to stop. Hurry up. I want more. I want more." Xiao Qin took a deep breath. The eldest Miss's voice was very pleasant. Her words made his imagination run wild. However, he was just thinking about it. "Wow, cousin Minjing, I didn't expect you to be such a bold and unrestrained girl. If I didn't know better, I would think that you were having sex with my cousin-in-law in the woods." Jean Bebe looked at Cheng Minjing weirdly. "You didn't mean to seduce my cousin-in-law, did you? Otherwise, why did he feed you so delicious? Why did you make such an alluring sound?" "Bebe, you can try it if you don't believe me." Cheng Minjing blushed and did not know how to explain. However, she would know how delicious it was if she asked Xiao Qin to feed her one. "I'll give it a try and see how delicious my cousin-in-law is." Jean Bebe nodded with a smile. "Before, my cousin-in-law was feeding me very delicious too." Jean Bebe was teasing Cheng Minjing when a cherry entered her mouth. She was more or less dumbfounded. Did such delicious cherries grow on her own cherry tree? It must be noted that Jean Bebe had been eating cherries since she was a little girl. She knew very well what they tasted like, but the taste in her mouth today had completely overturned her memory. Looking at Jean Bebe's shocked face, Cheng Minjing was rather proud. "How about it? I was right, wasn't I? Was what Xiao Qin fed you different?" "It's impossible. It's impossible. How could it be? It doesn't make sense." Jean Bebe, however, shook her head. "Right. It must be because Bebe likes my cousin-in-law. That's why there is a bonus of mental enjoyment. Cousin Minjing likes my cousin-in-law too. That's right. That must be it. However, why does Bebe and my cousin like the same man? What should I do? Pooh. Cheng Minjing glared at Jean Beibei, somewhat lost for words. Hey Beibei, are you alright? What bonus of mental enjoyment? It's impossible for me to like him. I don't have any bonus. Delicious means delicious. Chapter 127. Jean Beibei shook her head and said, That's right. Even if there is a bonus, it can't be that delicious. When my cousin-in-law fed Beibei lobsters and abalones before, there was not such a big difference. There was only a little bonus. Looking at Jean Beibei, Cheng Minjing suddenly asked, Beibei, it seems that you like Xiao Chen, don't you? Oh, I just think that my cousin-in-law is not bad. I don't really like him, Jean Beibei said in a hurry. All right. It's been almost 2 hours. Let's go back. Cheng Minjing had eaten a lot of cherries and was almost done. Even the most delicious food could not be eaten all the time. Oh, but I haven't had enough yet. Cousin Minjing was the one eating all the cherries before. Jean Beibei said, somewhat wronged. This cherry tree belongs to your family. You can eat it whenever you want. Do you have to eat it now? Cheng Minjing said angrily. That's different. My cousin-in-law is not always here. Jean Beibei said, somewhat wronged. You ate so many just now and I only had one, okay? Well, Cheng Minjing was somewhat puzzled too. Why was the cherries fed by Xiao Chen so delicious? Did Xiao Chen have some magical energy on his hands? She thought for a moment and found it unlikely. Therefore she said, You are just imagining things. Cousin Minjing is so mean. You are such a bully. It's obviously different. Jean Beibei felt even more wronged. All right. Xiao Chen, go and pick some cherries. Then let's go back. You can feed Beibei on the way back. Cheng Minjing said helplessly. Okay. Jean Beibei was delighted again. Xiao Chen picked some cherries. Then he fed Jean Beibei on the way back. Jean Beibei was enjoying the cherries very much. The three of them returned to the living room. When old Master Jean saw Xiao Chen feeding Jean Beibei cherries, he also widened his eyes and became more certain that his granddaughter must be interested in Xiao Chen. Otherwise, how could she be so obedient and let Xiao Chen feed her cherries? At this time, Jean Baobao walked in with the decocted medicine. When he saw Xiao Chen and his sister, he was shocked. Jean Beibei's marriage had always been a headache for the Jean family. Firstly, how many of them would really dare to ask for Jean Beibei's hand? Secondly, Jean Beibei herself would not agree. If it was an ordinary family, who could stand Jean Beibei's anger? On the other hand, Jean Beibei would feel wronged if she married an ordinary person. Would she be willing to do that? Therefore, the matter had been put aside for the time being. Seeing that Jean Beibei and Xiao Chen were so close to each other, Jean Baobao finally understood why his grandpa trusted and valued Xiao Chen so much. So he wanted to choose a grandson-in-law. Otherwise, he would not be afraid that something would go wrong if he brewed the dregs of the medicine. Delicious. Jean Beibei was enjoying the cherries. Old Master Jean, on the other hand, shook his head with a smile. The cherries belonged to the Jean family. Jean Beibei ate them all the time, but she had never enjoyed them so much. It seemed that this Xiao Chen was not an ordinary person. Beibei, are the cherries so delicious? All right, let's eat them later. Ask Xiao Chen to come here and teach Grandpa how to take the medicine. Old Master Jean said to Jean Beibei. Okay. Jean Beibei nodded reluctantly and said, Cousin-in-law, give all the cherries to Beibei. Beibei can eat them herself. Okay. Xiao Chen put the remaining cherries in Jean Beibei's hand. Then he took the medicine from Jean Baobao and sniffed it. Although the smell was not as strong as before, it should still be good. Therefore he said, Grandpa Jean, you can drink it in one go later. Then go to the yard and practice a set of martial arts. That will be enough. Okay. Old Master Jean took the medicine and drank it all up. Originally, Old Master Jean did not have much hope. He treated Xiao Chen well because of his granddaughter, Jean Beibei. However, after he drank the medicine, he felt that something was wrong. A stream of warmth immediately spread from his abdomen to his whole body. The heat made him feel that his blood was boiling and his energy was vigorous. It seemed that he would feel uncomfortable if he did not use the strength in his body. He hurried to walk out of the parlor and went outside. Then he started to exercise quickly. Jean Beibei ate a cherry, but she spat it out as soon as she swallowed it. It tasted terrible. It was not the same taste at all. Jean Beibei's father, Jean Zonghai, was the second son of the Jean family. Currently, he ran several stores in Songning City. However, he did not have the core production technology and sold the products of others. Therefore, the profit was very limited. Every year, he could barely maintain the operation of the Jean family. It was impossible for him to expand the Jean family. He mainly controlled a few chain noodle restaurants, a few chain pharmacies and a few chain clothing stores. Currently, he was the agent of the products of other companies. As soon as he got home, he heard the sound of martial arts training in the yard. When he walked closer, he was stunned. "Isn't that my father?" "That. What are you?" Jin Zonghai looked at golden-haired Lion King in confusion. Old Master Jin had his own training room. Normally, he would not practice in the yard of the villa, let alone at the door of the parlor. However, he was different today. "Ah, comfortable. So comfortable. I haven't felt so comfortable for many years." The golden fur Lion King laughed out loud as he punched. Although the injury on his waist was burning hot, it was especially comfortable. It was like cupping, painful and happy at the same time. Question mark. Jin Zonghai's eyes widened. "Dad, what are you doing?" "Ah. You have a good daughter and brought home a good grandson-in-law." "Ah. That's great. It's so comfortable. It's so cool." Old Master Jin laughed and waved his hands. "What?" Jin Zonghai was stunned. What does he mean by having a good daughter and bringing home a good grandson-in-law? Who is he talking about? However, Jin Zonghai only has one daughter. Is he talking about Jin Beibei? Does Beibei have a boyfriend? Jin Zonghai's voice attracted Jin Baobao, Jin Beibei, Cheng Menjing and Xiao Chen. Then they saw Jin Zonghai coming back. "Second uncle." Cheng Menjing hurried to greet Jin Zonghai when she saw him. Cheng Menjing's mother was Jin Beibei's first aunt, and Jin Beibei's mother was Cheng Menjing's second aunt. Both of them were members of the Zhu family. "Menjing is here." Jin Zonghai nodded. Then he fixed his eyes on Xiao Chen, which surprised him a bit. Old Master Jin said that Jin Beibei came back with her boyfriend. However, Xiao Chen was the only outsider here. He couldn't be Jin Baobao, could he? Therefore it could only be Xiao Chen. However, Jin Zonghai knew Xiao Chen. He knew that he was the useless young master of the Xiao family and used to be Cheng Menjing's fiancé. Since Jin Zonghai was more or less related to Cheng Menjing, he paid close attention to their affairs. However, according to Old Master Jin, Xiao Chen was Beibei's boyfriend? This, Jin Zonghai was not a traditional and conservative person. In particular, Jin Beibei was favored by Old Master Jin. Therefore, Jin Zonghai did not have many requirements when it came to choosing a partner. However, if she chose Xiao Chen, their relationship would be a bit messy. How awkward would it be between her and Cheng Menjing in the future? However, why was Cheng Menjing here? It was so hard to understand the world of young people. "Hello, second Uncle Jin." Xiao Chen nodded politely. "Xiao Chen is here. Welcome, welcome." Jin Zonghai said politely. Like Jin Baobao, he was not a big shot in the family. Therefore he had no right to show off here. In the Jin family, where Old Master Jin acted arbitrarily, no one dared to do anything in front of Old Master Jin. Otherwise they would be asking for a beating. "Ho!" At this moment, Old Master Jin suddenly shouted. Then he let out a long breath and said with a relaxed expression, "Good medicine. It's a miraculous medicine. Xiao Chen, you are very good. Wait for me to take a shower." After saying that, Old Master Jin quickly left under everyone's surprised gaze. After Old Master Jin left, Jin Zonghai looked at Jin Beibei and asked, "Beibei, what's going on?" "Oh, my cousin-in-law is here to treat Grandpa. Look at Grandpa now. He must have cured him." Jin Beibei said proudly as if she was the one who treated Grandpa. "How is it? My cousin-in-law is awesome, isn't he?" "Cousin-in-law? Treat him?" Jin Zonghai was stunned for a moment before he realized who this cousin-in-law was. However, didn't they say that Xiao Chen was Beibei's boyfriend now? Why was he still her cousin-in-law? Could it be that Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing had come back from the ashes, and Jin Beibei was the mistress? It was so messy that he felt that he could not think clearly enough. However, although he found it hard to accept the mistress, Old Master Jin was in charge of this matter. It was not up to him to say anything. Therefore he did not bother about it. "Yes, my cousin-in-law is awesome." He saw through Grandpa's illness at first glance. Then Grandpa invited him to treat him. Jin Beibei explained. "What?" Jin Zonghai turned around in shock and looked at Xiao Chen. "Xiao Chen, even I don't know where father's injuries are, and you can see through them? It's just an accident." Xiao Chen smiled. "I was born to be useless. I only wanted to see if there was a way to change my body constitution. Therefore, I did some research on the medical arts. That's not all. My cousin-in-law is awesome in other aspects too. He is not useless at all but a genius. Just like Beibei." Jin Beibei said. Jin Zonghai nodded. He had never seen Jin Beibei praise a man. So to speak, his father's words had some basis. Was there anything between Beibei and Xiao Chen? Then thank you very much, Mr. Xiao. If father's injuries are cured, you will be the benefactor of the Jin family. Jin Zonghai's way of addressing Xiao Chen and his tone suddenly changed. If old master's injuries were really cured, his capability would definitely soar. It would be a blessing for the Jin family. Chapter 128. You're welcome. When Xiao Chen was about to say that it was nothing, Cheng Menjing spoke first. Second uncle, you don't have to thank him. He's just my servant. If I ask him to go east, he doesn't dare to go west. If I ask him to beat a dog, he doesn't dare to catch a chicken. Cheng Menjing put her hands on her waist, somewhat complacent. It was rare to have such an awesome servant. Even she felt that she was awesome. Yes, second Uncle Jin, I'm just a servant of the eldest Mississippi. Just tell me if you need anything. Xiao Chen said with a smile. He found the eldest Mrs. appearance indescribably cute. Why didn't he notice it before? Ah, so the legend is true. Xiao Chen is going to be your servant, Menjing? Jin Zonghai smiled. However, you have to thank him. I don't care about the relationship between you two. Brother-in-law, I want you to feed me cherries again. Jin Beibei had just eaten an awful cherry, and she wanted Xiao Chen to feed her again. Okay. Xiao Chen took the cherry, wiped it, and put it into Jin Beibei's mouth. Delicious. Delicious. Jin Beibei finally ate delicious cherries again. It was definitely not an illusion. Seeing that she ate several cherries in a row, Cheng Menjing was also drooling. So she said, Xiao Chen, I want some too. Okay. Xiao Chen picked up another cherry, wiped it, and fed it to the eldest Mississippi. Therefore the two of them ate the cherries that Xiao Chen fed them, one on the left and the other on the right. Jin Zonghai was dumbfounded. Damn it. Are sisters fighting for favor? Xiao Chen doesn't look like a servant at all. He couldn't help but believe old Master Jin's words. Of course, he could never imagine that it was a very simple thing. It was only because the cherries that Xiao Chen fed her were delicious. Jin Baobao was also a little dumbfounded. Previously, he didn't have much interaction with Xiao Chen. He only heard that Xiao Chen was an arrogant hedonistic young master. But today it seemed that it was completely different. Moreover, he was even able to subdue such a mischievous younger sister. This was not something that an ordinary person could do. It was impossible for him to gain Jin Beibei's admiration without real ability. Jin Beibei was no fool. Very soon, the cherries in Xiao Chen's hands were all eaten up by the eldest miss and Jin Beibei. The two of them were still not satisfied. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen was about to pick more cherries when he heard Master Jin's excited laughter. Alright, I'm completely healed. There is no abnormality at all. My inner force can flow through my entire body without any obstruction. Old Master Jin strode into the living room. When he saw Xiao Chen, he gave him a big bear hug. Well, Xiao Chen was almost strangled to death by old Master Jin. He coughed and said with a bitter smile, That's great. The next medicine is to cure the root cause. You must take it on time. My young friend Xiao Chen, I didn't know that your expertise in medical arts has far exceeded that in martial arts. As he said that, old Master Jin could not help but put on a disdainful expression. I don't know what old Cheng and old Xiao are thinking. They are truly two super idiots. How stupid would they be to turn down such a great grandson and grandson-in-law? Their brains must have been damaged after too much training, haven't they? Although old Master's words were crude, they were not unreasonable. However, Xiao Chen's grandpa and Cheng Menjing's grandpa both felt somewhat embarrassed when he said those words. To be honest, Xiao Chen's grandpa still loved Xiao Chen very much when he was young. In recent years, he was more strict with him because of his inner force. Therefore, Xiao Chen did not particularly bear a grudge against him. My young friend Xiao Chen, I just said that if you cure my illness, I will give you a Jin Beibei. How about it? Old Master Jin looked at Xiao Chen with a smile. He was just joking before, but now it could be said that he was sincere. With Xiao Chen's medical arts, the Jin family might become the top aristocratic family in Songning City. Moreover, it was not impossible for them to rush to the entire Xia kingdom. As long as he opened a martial arts medical center, he would gain both fame and fortune. Grandpa Jin, don't joke. How can I give it to you? Xiao Chen was stunned. Xiao Chen could still distinguish the affirmative tone in old Master Jin's reply. It was completely different from the previous joke. Hehe, as I said last time, if the Xiao family doesn't want you, our Jin family can take you. How about you marry into our Jin family? Although old Master Jin was an uncouth man, he actually understood that rare goods were worth hoarding. Only when Xiao Chen was a member of the Jin family, he could help the Jin family with all his strength. Well, forget it. I am now only Menjing's servant. Even if I am not good enough, she is used to using me. I can't just leave casually. Xiaoqin saw old Master Jin's sincerity. However, this matter was not a small matter. If Xiaoqin really married into the Jin family, he would lose face. Suddenly being valued by the Jin family would not conform to his original intention of low-key investigation of the real culprit behind the scenes. Humph, you have a conscience. Hearing Xiaoqian's words, Qing Minjing was very satisfied. I have treated you well. If you drive me away, I will never talk to you again. Hee hee. Xiaoqin felt a little funny. After talking for a long time, her punishment was to never talk to him again? Old Master Jin glanced at Qing Minjing with interest and then looked at Jin Beibei. He nodded thoughtfully and said, since you haven't made up your mind, let's not talk about this now. Let's talk about it later. However, I am still very grateful to you, Xiaoqin. Old Master Jin could see that the relationship between the three of them was a little strange. He could not rush it and could only take one step at a time. Grandpa Jin, since you have recovered from your injury, it's time for me to leave. It's very late and I have to go to school tomorrow. Xiaoqin nodded at Old Master Jin. As for gratitude, he did not think too much about it. The reason why he helped Old Master Jin in the first place was because of his mistress and Jin Beibei. You're right. It's getting late. Why don't you stay at the Jin family's place for the night? Minjing often stays here and Xiaoqin, we have enough guest rooms here, Old Master Jin said. That's not necessary. Xiaoqin was still boiling medicine in the electric pot. He had to go back. Cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. If one did not move forward, one would fall behind. If Xiaoqin wanted to gain strength as soon as possible, he could not waste any day. Qing Minjing pursed her lips. She was about to agree because she wanted to eat cherries, but Xiaoqin insisted on leaving. She was a little unhappy. Hey Xiaoqin, I want you to stay here. Minjing, I'm still boiling medicine at home, Xiaoqin said honestly. I see. Let's go back then. Qing Minjing was not an insensible girl. Hearing that Xiaoqin still wanted to take medicine, she naturally did not insist. Compared with gluttony, Xiaoqin's internal strength was more important. Old Master Jin looked at Qing Minjing strangely again. He also realized that Xiaoqin listened to Qing Minjing when it came to small things. However, when it came to big things, Qing Minjing still listened to Xiaoqin. Was this a servant relationship? Was really weird. Could it be that Qing Minjing also liked Xiaoqin? In that case, Beibei did not have an advantage in the competition. No, what if Old Master Qing got ahead of me? What should I do? Seeing that Xiaoqin wanted to go back to take medicine, Old Master Jin could not force him to stay. He could only say, okay, but I will ask Jin Baobao to send the dregs back to you. Although Old Master Jin was very reluctant to give up the dregs, this thing belonged to Xiaoqin. He could not be greedy. He was going to get along with Xiaoqin for a long time. He did not want to take advantage of him temporarily. That's not necessary. Just leave it here. In the future, whoever has an old injury in his body can also take it. Xiaoqin waved his hand and did Old Master Jin a favor. Besides, the dregs were only 1/5 of the medicine that Xiaoqin had used. Xiaoqin did not care about it at all. He just did not show it on the surface. In that case, I won't be polite. Old Master Jin nodded happily after hearing it. He thought that this kid was really smart. It seemed that he also liked Beibei a little. Otherwise, how could he be so generous? Thinking of that, Old Master Jin was greatly reassured. Then we'll take our leave now. Right, you'd better keep the fact that I treated your injury a secret. Xiaoqin did not want his peaceful life to be disrupted. Of course. Rest assured, my young friend Xiaoqin, I won't tell anyone even if you beat me to death. Old Master Jin patted his chest and promised. That was exactly what he wanted. If everybody knew about it, it would not be a rare commodity. He did not want to tell anybody yet. It would be great if Jin Beibei could keep Xiaoqin for herself secretly. Xiaoqin nodded and left with the eldest lady. Jin Beibei, however, was somewhat reluctant to leave. She wanted to follow them, but she did not have a good reason to do so. She could only wave goodbye to them. Before they left, she said, Cousin-in-law, you can drive the Porsche 991 away. Beibei still prefers Jin Beibei's car. Okay. Xiaoqin nodded. It was too late. It was unrealistic for him and the eldest lady to go back on foot. Xiaoqin and Qing Minjing walked to the parking lot and got into Qin Jinping's Porsche 991 that Jin Beibei had just tricked. Sitting in the driver's seat of the car, Xiaoqin had a lot of mixed feelings. He used to have such a car, but it was an old 911, and 991 was the code name of the new 911. Xiaoqin did not expect that he would be driving a sports car again after being kicked out of the Xiao family. living in a villa every day flirting with girls. It seemed that she was even more awesome than before as an honorable guest of the Jin family. It was not until this moment that Xiaochen finally understood why the protagonists in so many novels and TV shows were all good-for-nothings. It turned out that they were the most awesome. Hey, why did the cherries you fed me taste so good? After getting in the car, Cheng Minjing could not help but ask. This was something that she could not understand no matter how hard she thought about it. She asked herself if she was that love-struck. What kind of mental boost would there be? Besides, Xiaochen was not her boyfriend, so what was the boost? Chapter 129. In fact, Xiaochen was quite curious too. He had thought that the young mistress was fooling around with Jean Bebe. But now that he heard it, it did not seem to be the case. Xiaochen, you are an idiot. When you wiped it, your spiritual energy leaked out and was directly absorbed by the cherries. Of course it's delicious. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice echoed next to Xiaochen's ears. Everything in the world needs to absorb nutrients to grow. So does the cherries. They absorb the fertilizer in the soil and the carbon dioxide in the air. Nourished by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, they can grow. However, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth here is sparse, and you have more in your hands. The cherries have just been picked and they are still active. They can be absorbed by themselves. After a long time, you have to inject them into your body manually. That explains a lot. Xiaochen was enlightened. It was just like injecting spiritual energy into a dish when cooking. But how could he explain it to the young mistress? Xiaochen immediately felt a headache coming on. Maybe it's because I drink some expensive herbs every day, and my body is releasing the energy of the herbs. Xiaochen said briefly, I just cleaned the cherries for you and fed them to you. As you can see, I didn't add anything. That's true. Cheng Minjing nodded. She had been paying attention to Xiaochen's hands. Except for cleaning the cherries, he did not do anything else. We will pass by a fruit shop later. Go and buy some fruits. I'm going to try it out. Okay. Xiaochen nodded. Not far away from the villa area, there was a high-end fruit supermarket. It was open 24 hours a day and targeted at the customers in the rich area. The fruits in the supermarket were of the best quality, but the prices were relatively high. Xiaochen parked the car in front of the fruit supermarket. He was about to get off the car to buy some fruits when Cheng Minjing stopped him. Hey, here's your money. As she spoke, Cheng Minjing took out her wallet and gave it to Xiaochen directly. It seemed that she had built up her trust in Xiaochen and did not need to worry that Xiaochen would steal her money. No need, it's my treat. Xiaochen said with a smile. Recently, he had cheated a lot of money. Previously, Missy also gave the card that Chen Jinpeng gave her to Xiaochen. He didn't care about such a small amount of money to buy fruits at all. You have taken me in for so long. I should also repay you. Well, since you're so proactive, I'll give you a chance to repay me. Cheng Minjing nodded and put away her wallet. Xiaochen went to buy some cherries. The cherries here were cherries. They were not as red as the cherries at Bei Bei's house. Instead, they were dark purple. He also bought a few peaches and oranges. Seeing that there were still vegetables over there, Xiaochen also bought some. Of course, even if the price here was more expensive, it was only a few hundred yuan. For the current Xiaochen, it was really nothing. After buying things, Xiaochen returned to the car. Cheng Minjing couldn't wait to take out a cherry. She wiped it and quickly stuffed it into her mouth. The taste was not bad, but it was not as delicious as the cherries from before. Hey, can you feed me one to try? Cheng Minjing stopped Xiaochen from driving and said to him. Okay. Xiaochen picked up one and wiped it. He pondered for a while and injected a little primordial qi into it. Who knew how many days had passed since the cherries were picked? If they were not active and didn't absorb primordial qi, wouldn't it be exposed? After doing it, he stuffed it into Cheng Minjing's mouth and said, What about now? It's really different. Cheng Minjing looked at Xiaochen's hand in surprise. If it was in Beibei's house, there might be something wrong with the cherries because Jean Beibei had done something to them. But if it was bought outside, there wouldn't be any problem. However, the taste was still very different. After thinking for a while, Cheng Minjing said, Why don't you wipe it and feed it to me directly? Missy, aren't you afraid of having a stomachache? Xiaochen said with a bitter smile. Then I'll wipe it myself and feed it to you. Cheng Minjing picked up a cherry and wiped it. Then she passed it to Xiaochen. This time, Xiaochen didn't wipe it, nor did he inject primordial qi into it. He directly fed it to Cheng Minjing. What about this time? It's not delicious. Cheng Minjing frowned. She finally believed Xiaochen's words. She looked at Xiaochen in surprise. You have this ability? You can sell fruits in the future. Forget it. Do I have to wipe them one by one before I sell them? Don't you think I'm tired? Xiao Qin said with a bitter smile. You want to leave now? I won't let you go. Such a magical servant belongs to me, Qing Minjing. Qing Minjing said proudly. Okay, I'm not leaving. Xiao Qin smiled. He didn't expect that he would be so qualified as a servant that Missy was very satisfied with. In fact, Xiao Qin felt that it was not bad to have a temporary place to stay. Here he could hide his strength and didn't have to worry about being discovered. At least, Missy and Jean Bebe wouldn't tell them if they knew. But if he lived in other places, it would be hard to say. It was hard to guarantee that the Qing family or the person suspected to be behind Chao Yuliang wouldn't send someone to spy on him. If that happened, it wouldn't be fun. But now he was living with Qing Minjing. Who dared to spy on him? You still have a conscience? Qing Minjing nodded in satisfaction. Feed me another cherry. Hurry up. Okay. Because Xiao Qin had to drive, he quickly injected primordial energy into the bag of cherries by hand. It looked like he was wiping them. When he was done, he handed it to Qing Minjing. Okay. You can eat it. It should be delicious as well. Why didn't you think of this earlier? Are you trying to take advantage of me? Qing Minjing took the cherries and glared at Xiao Qin. I wouldn't dare. I didn't think of this before, did I? Besides, you asked me to feed you. Xiao Qin shrugged innocently. Qing Minjing ate the cherries and ignored Xiao Qin. In fact, if Xiao Qin said that he did it on purpose, the young lady might be a little happier. What she was most confused about was why she didn't attract Xiao Qin. Although this guy respected her and treated her as the hostess, he had never treated her as a woman. Was he blind? Couldn't he see that she wasn't worse than Xin Jingxian, Kerlin and Tang Tang? Sooner or later, I'll let you know how much you regret it when I dumped you. Xiao Qin started the car and returned to the villa. When Xiao Qin was about to take the medicine, the young lady threw the rest of the fruit in front of Xiao Qin. Hey, help me process it. It's your honor. Okay, I'm very willing, dear young lady. Xiao Qin took the fruit with a smile, injected some primordial qi into it, and then returned it to Qing Minjing. The young lady was satisfied and went upstairs with the fruit, while Xiao Qin turned his head to drink the medicine. This medicine was bought by Xiao Qin at a high price, so Xiao Qin cherished it very much. He even drank the last drop of the medicine, and then began to exercise in the room. Although it was very late, the villa was a standalone building. Only Xiao Qin lived on the first floor, so it wouldn't affect others. After exercising for more than an hour, Xiao Qin released the heat in his dantian. It was very comfortable. He took a shower and practiced on the bed with peace of mind. However, after cultivating for a while, Xiao Qin's phone rang. Xiao Qin took a look and it was actually Lu Jinming. After hesitating for a while, Xiao Qin still picked up the phone. No matter how much I hate him, this kid will be stupid enough to send me money in a few days. Xiao Qin had no reason to ignore this nouveau riche friend. Young Master Lu, it's so late. What's the matter with me? Asked Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin is like this. I want to ask, is the matter tonight resolved? Did Minjing say anything about me? Asked Lu Jinming. It turned out that this guy wanted to inquire about Qing Minjing's whereabouts. After the hero saved the beauty, he wanted to ask for the beauty's evaluation. Xiao Qin thought about it and said, she didn't know what was going on before, but after my explanation she finally understood what was going on. Her evaluation of you is okay, but you also know Qing Minjing's identity. It's impossible to move her at once with this ordinary level of hero saving the beauty. Yes, I understand, but this is also a good start. Today, thank you Xiao Qin for helping to inform me. You can rest assured that I will definitely protect you in the future. In school, no one dares to do anything to you. Lu Jinming thought, it seems that I can't get rid of Xiao Qin for the time being. It's also good to keep this kid to provide me with information on picking up girls. Then let him live for 2 more days. And is there anything else? Asked Xiao Qin. There is one more thing. Do you know where Qing Minjing eats in the morning? I rarely see her eating breakfast at school. I want to treat her to breakfast tomorrow morning. Let's strike while the iron is hot. Can you give me a suggestion? Lu Jinming revealed his purpose. He wanted to strike while the iron was hot. Today he had successfully saved the beauty. The next day, he naturally had to take the initiative to please Qing Minjing first while she hadn't forgotten it. How can I give you a suggestion? How would I know what she is willing to eat? Xiao Qin said somewhat impatiently. Did Lu Jinming even know how to pick up girls or not? Xiao Qin was a little impatient. That's right. How about I treat her to breakfast tomorrow morning, and I will take you with me. You can give me some advice. Lu Jinming asked tentatively. Why do you take me with you if you treat her to breakfast? I have to go to sell fried dough sticks. Do you have something to say or not? If not, I'm hanging up. You don't want to pay me and you still ask me so many questions. Xiao Chen was anxious to try the effect of the medicine, but Lu Jinming still didn't give up. Oh, aren't you in a good relationship with Jean Beibei? How about I invite Cheng Menjing to bring you and Jean Beibei? 2 pairs will be perfect. Otherwise, if I treat Cheng Menjing to a meal alone, she will have to agree first. Lu Jinming said somewhat embarrassedly. Xiao Chen, rest assured. The money I promised you will not be small. It's only 200,000. I'll give it to you as soon as I have it. Chapter 130. Oh, then you can take Jean Beibei with you. I have to fry the deep-fried dough sticks. I don't have time. Xiao Chen said. Well? It was not that Lu Jinming did not want to take Jean Beibei with him, but if there was no one to restrain Jean Beibei, she would be a troublemaker. Then how could he please Cheng Menjing? He had asked Xiao Chen to restrain Jean Beibei. In Lu Jinming's opinion, Xiao Chen would definitely help him since he had accepted his fund to pick up girls. As long as Xiao Chen played with Jean Beibei, Lu Jinming would have a chance to be alone with Cheng Menjing. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Xiao Chen said. Don't. Lu Jinming was immediately anxious. How about this? Xiao Chen, I'll treat them to deep-fried dough sticks tomorrow. Is that okay? I'll go to the morning street to find you. Whatever you want. Xiao Chen hung up the phone directly. He cursed, idiot, and turned off his phone. Then he began to cultivate. Nothing happened that night. Xiao Chen did not continue to make breakthroughs. Although he was a little disappointed, his restlessness also calmed down. The rapid breakthroughs made Xiao Chen feel that cultivation was much easier than martial arts. He had the strength equal to a warrior at the peak of level 3 of the inner force realm in just a few days. But now the speed of cultivation had slowed down. Xiao Chen also gradually recognized the reality that there were not so many things in the world that could be reaped without sowing. Perhaps, the reason why he could cultivate so fast before was that he had built a good foundation over the years. But now the foundation had been used up and the speed had slowed down. At the first glimmer of dawn, Xiao Chen ended his cultivation and quickly rushed to the morning market street. A new day had begun. Xiao Chen, do you think that redhead from yesterday will come looking for trouble? Tang Tang was more or less worried. She had been in the morning street for a long time, and she had heard that some riders who had offended the gangsters were beaten to death after that. Not only did they lose a lot of money, but they also couldn't keep the stall anymore and left the market gloomily. Different situations call for different actions. If he really comes looking for trouble, we won't be able to stop him. But we can't just let him trick us, right? Xiao Chen smiled indifferently and comforted her. Moreover, with our current skills, it's more than enough to open a breakfast shop. So what if we don't set up a stall? That's true. However, you, as the chef, must be involved. Otherwise, I won't be able to do it myself. Tang Tang said, you can't abandon me when the time comes. How could I not? You can't abandon a wife who has gone through hardships together, Xiao Chen joked. And this is what you said. Let's see if you bring me when the time comes. Tang Tang was also relieved. Otherwise, she would be worried all night last night. The two came to the morning street, set up the stall and began the day's business. Because of the usual good taste, customers came to buy when the stall was just set up. However, what made Xiao Chen disappointed was that Kerlin didn't come to buy fried dough sticks today. To be honest, Xiao Chen still missed her. After leaving the school for so long, yesterday was the first time he saw her, but in that situation they couldn't talk about the past. In fact, it wasn't that Kerlin didn't want to come. She said to her mother at the same time every day, Mom, do you want me to buy fried dough sticks? Buy what? Yesterday they helped us. How can we take advantage of them today? If we buy it at full price, who can afford it? Forget it. Mother Lin waved her hand and said, let's eat noodles today. Oh. Kerlin wanted to say that Xiao Chen would still sell it to her, but she didn't say it after thinking about it. Her mother didn't seem to like her and Xiao Chen. In fact, when Kerlin saw Xiao Chen, she was a little afraid. After all, Xiao Chen's previous image was deeply rooted in her heart. She was grateful to Xiao Chen, but she didn't dare to have a deep relationship with Xiao Chen. She was afraid that Xiao Chen would make that kind of unreasonable request. With this contradictory heart, Kerlin's idea was to hide as much as possible. I really miscalculated yesterday. Why did I tell that sister that my family sells noodles inside? If I didn't tell her, Xiao Chen wouldn't be able to find me, right? But then I would lose 100 yuan. I don't know if that red hair will come looking for trouble. He suffered such a big loss. I hope he doesn't come. Mother Lin frowned and was a little worried. He won't come, right? Although Kerlin said so, she was still worried about Xiao Chen. She wanted to see if he was okay, but she didn't have an excuse. So, she was in a dilemma as she made noodles. Kerlin's mother was right. How could Red Hair not come after he suffered such a big loss? He had never suffered such a big loss before. After he went back, he found a few brothers and prepared to take revenge on Xiao Chen today. A smelly stall owner actually dared to humiliate me, Red Hair. I will kill you this time. Brother Red Hair, how are we going to deal with this little brat this time? Do we beat him up, or do what we do every time and extort some money from him? Asked one of Red Hair's underlings. Just beat him up. This kid has some kung fu. He's quite powerful. We have to outsmart him. Red Hair waved his hand and said, just like the last time we dealt with the wonton stall. Extort some money from him and cause trouble every now and then. Make him scram. I'm annoyed when I see him. Understood. The guy with the back nodded and the other two underlings also nodded. It wasn't the first time they did this kind of thing. Red Hair brought the three underlings to Xiao Chen's breakfast stall. Tang Tang's eyelids twitched slightly when she saw them entering the line and began to line up. She pushed Xiao Chen and whispered, Xiao Chen, that Red Hair from yesterday is here again. Xiao Chen looked up and found that Red Hair was actually lining up obediently. Although he was a little puzzled, he still nodded and said, ignore him first. Let's wait and see what he wants to do. Tang Tang nodded and continued to sell the youtiao. Not long after, it was Red Hair's and his underling's turn. Red Hair handed Tang Tang a 50 yuan bill and said, give me 4 bowls of tofu pudding and 20 youtiao. Tang Tang took the bill and carefully examined it for a long time. She found that it was indeed a genuine bill. She couldn't help but wonder, is this Red Hair really here to eat today? Could it be that he still wants to eat today after eating yesterday? It was understandable if it was someone else, but Red Hair was almost killed by the chili yesterday. Yet he still wants to eat? Is this person addicted to spicy food? However, Tang Tang naturally couldn't drive the guests away. She gave them the money and gave them the tofu pudding and youtiao. Red Hair took the tofu pudding and youtiao and didn't say anything. He sat at the public table next to the morning market and ate. Xiao Chen, are they really here to eat? Tang Tang was a little doubtful. Who knows? Let's wait and see. Xiao Chen frowned. He always felt that this Red Hair didn't have any good intentions. However, since he didn't move now, Xiao Chen didn't bother to pay attention to him. After a while, Red Hair and his 3 underlings finished eating. Then they stood up and wanted to leave. Just when Tang Tang thought that they really came for breakfast, Red Hair's underling suddenly put his head behind his back, covered his stomach, squatted on the ground and screamed. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts so much. His back had a headache and his forehead was sweating. My stomach hurts too. What's going on? Another underling with a full beard also screamed and squatted on the ground. Mine is starting to hurt too. It hurts so much. The last underling, Bald Lao Yang, also screamed. What's wrong with you guys? What's going on? Red Hair suddenly became anxious, but he just spoke halfway and fell to the ground with his hands on his stomach. He wailed loudly, it hurts. It hurts so much. Why does my stomach hurt so much? Ouch. Brother Red Hair, it must be this breakfast stall that's not clean. There's something wrong with the breakfast. Otherwise, the 4 of us wouldn't have a stomachache at the same time. While talking, the guy with the back had already begun to roll on the ground. It hurts so much, it hurts so much. This youtiao stall is a black spot. It must be using moldy flour and gutter oil, and the tofu pudding made with inferior beans. It's all junk food. The bearded man also cried out. Yes, the black-hearted boss. It hurts so much. Bald Lao Yang also began to roll on the ground. Everyone be careful. This breakfast stall sells black-hearted food. Don't eat it. If you eat it, you'll end up like me. Red Hair cried on the ground while moaning. The 4 men's loud cries suddenly attracted a lot of onlookers. Some people who came to buy fried dough sticks and soy milk also stopped what they were doing. They looked at Xiao Chen's breakfast stall with vigilance and disgust. Although Xiao Chen's fried dough sticks were delicious, in this world, there were many black-hearted bosses who could also make junk food delicious by adding some poppy shells. Looking at the miserable state of Red Hair and the others, they didn't dare to take the risk of buying Xiao Chen's fried dough sticks for the sake of gluttony. Xiao Chen looked at Red Hair and the others coldly. To be honest, Xiao Chen could totally beat them away, but that wasn't the solution. Some people who didn't know the truth might think that he was treating the victims violently. Tang Tang was a little anxious. She pointed at Red Hair and said angrily, "Don't slander us. Our fried dough sticks and soy milk are very reputable in this area. No one has ever had any problems with them. Why are you the only ones who have problems?" Shout? What? Your food is bad and you're blaming us? Red Hair's face darkened. He sneered, "You're lucky that you didn't eat bad people before. I didn't expect this fried dough stick stall to be so popular, but it's actually a black-hearted shop. Yeah, I even bought it for the elderly and children. Now I'm scared just thinking about it. Everyone don't buy it. Boycott them." Yeah, look at these two youngsters. Not only did they ignore the person who had problems with his food, but they also kept defending themselves. Do they have any conscience? What the hell? Yeah, hurry up and send him to the hospital and compensate him. Chapter 131. The onlookers who didn't know the truth began to blame Xiao Chen and Tang Tang. Of course, there was also a man hired by Red Hair to fan the flames. Red Hair was overjoyed when he saw that the wind began to blow in his direction. This was his usual trick, and he had ruined a wonton stall. The stall owner not only paid him a lot of money, but also couldn't open his stall anymore. No one dared to eat his wonton anymore. Don't listen to them. I just ate a bowl of tofu pudding and 2 fried dough sticks and nothing happened. And I've been eating here for many days and nothing happened. Don't believe them. At this time an old lady couldn't stand it anymore. She stood up and explained, "Yesterday I saw this man." The old lady wanted to say that she was also there when Red Hair spent fake money yesterday. But before she could say it, she heard Red Hair yelling, "Old lady, you're so old and your stomach isn't functioning well. It's normal that you can't tell if it's poisonous or not. Don't meddle in it." Yes, she must be a man of the fried dough stick stall. Otherwise, why is she the only one who says she's fine? It hurts. Take me to the hospital, it hurts so much. Xiao Chen sighed and wanted to walk over to let the old lady finish her words. He didn't believe that only the old lady had seen what happened yesterday. There must be others who had seen it, but they dared not to show their faces. However, before he went over, suddenly a loud and urgent car horn sounded behind the onlookers. Beep, 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 beep. People in the front, get out of the way. I don't care if you're killed. After the horn sounded, the loudspeaker shouted, accompanied by the roar of the engine, which made the onlookers hide aside subconsciously. Those who dare to drive in the downtown area are not good people. Looking at the Land Rover Range Rover, it is a car worth more than 1 million renminbi, and it has the Song TNB 001 plate. How can an ordinary person hang such a plate? How awesome was that? Early this morning, Lu Jinming finally managed to ask Cheng Menjing out. Before, Cheng Menjing refused to go for breakfast. But later she said that she was going to eat the fried dough sticks made by Xiao Chen. Therefore, under Jean Bei's instigation, she followed him here. But as soon as he entered the morning market street, there was a traffic jam. Lu Jinming had no choice but to honk the horn and drive forward. However, he was a young master of the underworld and was used to being arrogant. He didn't care whether there was anyone in front of him or not. Although he inevitably scratched someone, those who were scratched saw Lu Jinming's domineering car plate and arrogant posture and knew that he was not to be trifled with. Therefore they didn't do anything and just swallowed their anger. However, it was almost time for Xiao Chen's breakfast stall. In the end, a group of people gathered together for some unknown reason. This made Lu Jinming even more annoyed. F***ck, it's not easy for me to treat my goddess to a meal. Can't you get out of my way? Finally, when these people got out of the way, when Lu Jinming was about to drive, he saw 4 people rolling on the ground not far from his car. Lu Jinming flew into a rage at once. He picked up the loudspeaker and shouted, F***CKU4. Are you deaf? Get out of my way. It hurts, it hurts. This is a scam. This fried dough stick stall is a scam. Don't eat here. The red-haired man didn't care whether there was a car or not. He continued to roll on the ground. In his opinion, the car couldn't do anything to the patient, could it? Quickly send me to the hospital. I think I'm suffering from food poisoning. It's so hard and uncomfortable. The adulterous couple at this fried dough stick stall is a black-hearted boss. Lu Jinming did not know what the people on the ground were wailing about, and he did not want to listen to them. He only wanted to go to Xiao Chen's place to eat fried dough sticks with Cheng Menjing. Seeing that Xiao Chen's stall was not far away, he suggested, how about we stop the car here and go for a walk? Lil Ming, you can't do it either. You're a young master from the underworld and you can't even handle 4 hooligans. I don't feel safe eating with you. Cousin Menjing hates people who don't have guts the most. Jean Bei curled her lips and mocked Lu Jinming. Cheng Menjing glanced at Jean Bei without saying a word. She naturally noticed what Jean Bebe noticed too, but Lu Jinming did not. Is that so? Lu Jinming was startled, then he responded generously, who said that I don't have guts? Just you wait. I'll show you what a young master from the underworld looks like. Oh, let me see then, but you don't look like you can do it. Jean Bebe was disdainful. You'll see if I can do it or not. Lu Jinming picked up the megaphone and roared, F***CKU you mother curs. Do you not understand human language or what? Get the hell out of here. Why would the red-haired man care about him? He was pretending to have a stomachache. If he left, how could he continue pretending? Therefore he and his 3 hooligans were still rolling on the ground. Look Lil Ming, they're ignoring you at all. Jean Bebe remarked. Just you wait. Lu Jinming was infuriated. He got out of the car and pointed at the 4 hooligans on the ground. I'm warning you again. If you dare to block my way again, I'll run you over and kill you. It hurts, it hurts. Red Hair continued to wail like a ghost and howl like a wolf, ignoring Lu Jinming's words. F***CK you're really something. Who was Lu Jinming? He was a young master from the underworld who killed without batting an eye. The red-haired man simply took out his phone and dialed a number. Teacher Lei, it's me. I'm at the Morning Market Street and I'm going to run over 4 idiots with my car. Help me prepare someone to take the blame. Bring me another 1 million yuan and get a few fake witnesses. Okay, that's it. The red-haired man sneered and thought, who doesn't know how to act cool and scare people? I'm good at it. You really have the guts to run over them? That said, Lu Jinming would not spoil the red-haired man. He was most afraid of losing face in front of his goddess. Now, the red-haired man had infuriated him. After jumping into the Land Rover, Lu Jinming immediately started the car. With a roar of the accelerator, he sped towards the red-haired man and the other 3. Who was he, Lu Jinming? If someone died, he had underlings to take the blame for him. What was there to be afraid of? The red-haired man saw Lu Jinming get into the car from the corner of his eyes. He thought that he had admitted defeat and was preparing to leave. Who knew that the next moment, the Land Rover's engine roared and charged at him. F***CK. Run. He was the closest to the car. At that moment he didn't even have the thought of pretending to have a stomachache. He jumped up from the ground and dodged to the side. The other 3 underlings weren't idiots either. They had been at the bottom of society, so they had long trained themselves to be quick-witted. When they saw the Land Rover charge over, they got up from the ground and dodged to the side. However, the red-haired man was too close, so he staggered. At that moment, the red-haired man understood that he had met a ruthless person today. This kid really dared to run over them. Who was this person? However, the red-haired man didn't want to show weakness. He pointed at the Land Rover's tail and shouted, "You hit me. This isn't over. If you dare to run, I will remember your car plate number and say that you are a hit and run." When the red-haired man saw the eye-catching NB001 plate on the Land Rover, he was instantly dumbfounded. He wasn't a person who didn't know the price. This plate was an auction plate. It couldn't be bought without a few $100,000. Moreover, to hang this plate so arrogantly, he must be a rich person. At that moment he was a little scared. Maybe what Lu Jinming said was true. He really dared to run over them. Brother Red Hair, let's go. The red-haired man could tell that Lu Jinming wasn't someone to be trifled with. His underlings naturally saw it too. They cautiously reminded the red-haired man. And let's go. Although the red-haired man wasn't satisfied that he didn't manage to deal with Xiao Chen's Youqiao stall, if Lu Jinming turned around and the people he found arrived, wouldn't he beat them up again? The red-haired man couldn't afford to provoke these rich and powerful people. I say, red-haired man, didn't you have a stomachache? Why doesn't it hurt anymore? Xiao Chen saw that the red-haired man was planning to leave, so he asked with a faint smile. I choked when we were eating just now. I'm fine now. If there's nothing else, let's go. The red-haired man knew that he couldn't pretend anymore. You said that your stomach still hurt. How did you stand up? You stood up for a long time, but you didn't lie down on the ground. This didn't make sense at all. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? I was planning to give you some money. Xiao Chen said with some regret. You want to compensate me? Alright, give it to me quickly. The red-haired man didn't expect that the matter was exposed. Xiao Chen would still compensate him. Wasn't he a fool? However, it didn't matter whether it was true or not. How could the red-haired man not take the free money? In his opinion, Xiao Chen must be afraid. Today, a rich family's young master happened to help him out. Next time he wouldn't be so lucky. He was afraid that the red-haired man would find trouble with him again, so he planned to pay the money to avoid disaster. However, even if you take out the money today, the red-haired man, won't let you go so easily. I will definitely return the humiliation yesterday. I will take revenge until you leave this place and can't do business anymore. I'll give you 1 yuan. Thank you for your monkey performance just now. It was very exciting. As Xiaoqin spoke, he took out a yuan coin from his pocket and handed it to the red-haired man. You. Redhead's face flushed red. Only then did he realize that he had been brushed off by Xiaoqin. Together with his head of red hair, his head was like a big lantern fruit, fiery red. However, Xiaoqin's martial arts value was higher. Even if the red-haired man had 4 people, he didn't dare to casually attack Xiaoqin. Moreover, the rich family's young master hadn't left yet. If they were to fight and he joined in, it wouldn't be fun anymore. Thinking of this, the red-haired man could only snort coldly. He glared at Xiaoqin and scolded, "Just you wait." Then he quickly left with his 3 underlings. At this point, the people present finally understood that the red-haired man was a liar. He pretended to have a stomachache and wanted to extort people. In the end, he was accidentally bumped into by the rich family's young master. Chapter 132. Originally, Lu Zhiming's arrogant act of killing someone, finding a scapegoat and giving false evidence was indeed unpleasant. It was the typical style of a brainless rich second generation. But now, it seemed that evil people needed to be dealt with by evil people. Without Lu Zhiming, how could red hair be seen through so easily? As a result, Xiaoqian's Youqiao stall once again recovered the scene of selling like hotcakes, and those who spoke up for Redhead before were now very ashamed at this time. They wanted to buy more Youqiao to make themselves feel better. Lu Zhiming didn't know what happened to red hair, but he didn't care. Red hair was just a green-haired guy. What did it have to do with him? He found a place to park his car and walked to Xiaoqin. "Xiaoqin, I'm coming." Lu Zhiming winked at Xiaoqin, wanting him to come and help to contain Jin Beibei. "If you want to make trouble, give me 3 sets of Youqiao and soy milk." "Why are you winking?" "Pay up." Xiaoqin glared at Lu Zhiming grumpily. But no matter what, this guy had helped him just now. Although Xiaoqin could solve it himself, it wouldn't work so quickly. Lu Zhiming took out his wallet at once, took out a 100 yuan bill and handed it to Xiaoqin. "Can't you see I'm frying Youqiao? I'm frying Youqiao with my money-grubbing hand. Do you want to eat it?" Xiaoqin said. Lu Zhiming handed the money to Tang Tang at once. "Don't you know how to line up? Can't you see there are so many people waiting? What are you thinking? Can't you be a gentleman in front of the goddess?" Xiaoqin pointed at the people in the line opposite Tang Tang and said, "Oh, okay." Lu Zhiming took back the money resentfully and turned to line up. This action made the people in the queue click their tongues in wonder. Just now they clearly saw how arrogant Lu Zhiming was. This guy wanted to kill someone with his car. But now he spoke to Xiaoqin in a pleasant manner. What ability did this deep-fried dough stick have to actually make him so respectful? Everyone was puzzled. "You buy it first." However, Lu Zhiming wanted to line up. How could the person at the front of the line dare to let Lu Zhiming line up? The memory of this fellow's ruthlessness was still fresh in his mind. He didn't want to suffer this fellow's revenge after he finished his purchase. Therefore he simply let Lu Zhiming buy it first. "Thank you." Lu Zhiming nodded to the man politely, then gave the money to Tang Tang. The people in the back also saw Lu Zhiming buy it, but no one dared to criticize him. Who would provoke such a fierce person? Xiaoqin glanced at him and didn't stop him. If he wanted to buy it, then let him do it. The others didn't say anything and Xiaoqin didn't care. Lu Zhiming bought the deep-fried dough sticks and soybean milk, then brought them to Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei. At the same time he kept winking at Xiaoqin, but Xiaoqin didn't pay attention to him at all. After all the customers in front of him were gone, Xiaoqin fried some more stock, then walked over and sat beside Lu Zhiming. This was a table for 4 people. Lu Zhiming sat on one side by himself, while Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei sat on the other side. "Ah, Xiaoqin, you're finally here." Lu Zhiming looked at Xiaoqin gratefully, as if he had found his team. Before, he wanted to talk to Qing Minjing while they were having breakfast together. However, Jin Beibei's mouth kept pouting, and Lu Zhiming didn't have a chance to talk to Qing Minjing at all. He didn't dare to interrupt Jin Beibei, so he had to sit aside and listen to them bitterly. However, the two of them were talking about the plots in the TV series. Lu Zhiming couldn't understand them at all. He was really in the dark. He cursed the fishman too in his heart many times for the so-called campus belle's bodyguard. He couldn't even get a word in. However, Lu Zhiming secretly remembered the Fishman 2's WeChat ID, Yuran 22, and planned to add it after he went back. Then he would do somersaults on the ground to ask for a minor role. How awesome would it be if he appeared in the novel or the TV series? By then, Cheng Menjing would definitely admire him. Chances were that she would fall in love with him immediately. Menjing Bebe, are you done? It's almost time for me to pack up and go to school, said Xiaoqin. Delicious. I want my cousin-in-law to feed me. After saying that, Jean Bebe glanced at Cheng Menjing complacently. Humph. Aren't you afraid that it's unhygienic to ask someone else to feed you? Cheng Menjing snorted and said in disdain. But she secretly said to herself, Xiaoqin, if you don't pick up the deep-fried dough sticks and put them in front of me, I will never be friends with you again. Hee hee. Jean Bebe glanced at Cheng Menjing with a faint smile, and then she opened her mouth wide. Xiaoqin knew that she wanted to eat deep-fried dough sticks. Therefore he picked up a deep-fried dough stick, injected some of his spiritual energy into it, and then stuffed it into Jean Bebe's mouth. Xiaoqin knew that she wanted to eat deep-fried dough sticks. Therefore he picked up a deep-fried dough stick, injected some of his spiritual energy into it, and then stuffed it into Jean Bebe's mouth. Here you are. Wow. Delicious. Delicious. Jean Bebe's mouth was covered with grease, and her eyes were narrowed into that of a kitten. She seemed to be very happy. Hey servant, bring one for me. Cheng Menjing was somewhat anxious. Judging from Jean Bebe's appearance, the deep-fried dough sticks seemed to be very delicious. Could it be that the deep-fried dough sticks that Xiaoqin fed her tasted different from the ones that Xiaoqin fried in batches? Servant? Lu Zhiming was a bit curious about the title, but he did not mind it. He said to Cheng Menjing, Menjing, do you want me to get one for you? No. I want Xiaoqin, the servant, to get one for me, said Cheng Menjing. Fine. Xiaoqin was speechless. His identity had been exposed. However, it was not a big deal. If Lu Zhiming wanted to pursue Cheng Menjing, as long as he went back to the Lu family and made some inquiries, he would know that he was Cheng Menjing's servant. What? Servant? Lu Zhiming looked at Xiaoqin in surprise. Menjing, Xiaoqin, what are you doing? Role-playing? It's nothing. I've been reduced to being Cheng Menjing's servant. The Cheng family hates me. Not only did they break off the engagement, they even asked me to be young Mrs. Servant for free. Otherwise they'll kill me. Xiaoqin shrugged and said with a bitter expression. So, you are Cheng Menjing's servant now. Lu Zhiming reacted as if he had heard big news. Then you. It's so hard. I have to go back to serve Miss and Xiao at night. I haven't had enough sleep, so I have to sell breakfast in the morning market on my own. It's as hard as it can be. Xiaoqin said with a bitter smile. D*MN, so you two live together? Lu Zhiming was a little envious, jealous, and hateful. He wanted nothing more than to replace them. However, when he thought about it, it was not quite possible. The Cheng family did this to torture and take revenge on Xiaoqin. He instantly understood the Cheng family's mindset. Killing a person is far less satisfying than torturing a person. Xiaoqin is so bitter every day. Old Master Cheng probably enjoys it, right? Cheng Menjing also knew that she had said something wrong. She shouldn't have told Lu Zhiming about this kind of thing. If he knew, wouldn't he hate Xiaoqin even more? What if he did something bad to Xiaoqin? However, Xiaoqin still had an indifferent expression. It's just a villa. There is a tenant upstairs. I live downstairs. Oh. Lu Zhiming thought it was reasonable. Cheng Menjing was Xiaoqin's fiancée before. They didn't live together. Now they had become servants. How could there be anything ambiguous? Thinking of this, he immediately felt at ease and his eyes even lit up. He patted Xiaoqin on the shoulder and said, Haha, so you're Menjing's assistant. Sorry for not recognizing you. In the future, I'll have to ask young Master Xiao to help me out. Lu Zhiming thought further. He didn't believe that Xiaoqin and Cheng Menjing could have any relationship. Besides, Xiaoqin already had Tang Tang. How could he still be with Cheng Menjing? And Xiaoqin was Cheng Menjing's servant. In that case, wouldn't it be easy for him to report the situation of the young lady to him? With such an insider, he could know the young lady's movements at any time. Would he worry about not being able to catch up with Cheng Menjing? Thinking of this, Lu Zhiming felt that he had to have a good relationship with Xiaoqin in the future. Didn't you see the ministers in ancient times? They all tried their best to have a relationship with the people around the emperor. Even if it was a eunuch, it was still very powerful. I don't have time to help you. I'm too busy and I have to sell fried dough sticks. Xiaoqin shrugged. Didn't you see the unreconciled look of the red hair just now? Maybe he will come to trouble me again. I don't have time to care about your business. Damn, how dare he? If he comes again, you tell me. I will kill him. Lu Zhiming patted his chest and said, Xiaoqin, don't worry. In the future, your business is my business. We are not related. Oh, thank you. Xiaoqin said gratefully. Qing Minjing was a little stunned. What is going on? After Lu Zhiming knew that Xiaoqin lived with her, instead of hating Xiaoqin, he began to please Xiaoqin? Is this person sick? Picking up the fried dough stick that Xiaoqin handed over, Qing Minjing glanced at it. It was no different from the previous one. However, after taking a bite, she found that it was very delicious. It was really strange. Cherries can absorb the aura of medicinal herbs. Can the fried dough stick do the same? However, although the fried dough stick was delicious, Qing Minjing's appetite was limited. It was different from fruit. If she ate too much, she would be stuffed to death. When she finished eating, they should also pack up and go to school. When Xiaoqin closed the stall, there were still some fried dough sticks left. He hesitated and said to Tang Tang, Tang Tang, you go and send some to Lin. Lin? Tang Tang was stunned, and then she realized that it was the girl from Lin's shop in the market. She nodded and packed some fried dough sticks and soy milk in a plastic bag. She walked into the market, and Xiaoqin began to close the stall on the tricycle. Lin? Miss Tang's ears were sharp. She immediately heard Xiaoqin say Lin's name and heard that he was going to send fried dough sticks to Lin. Miss Tang was a little unhappy. Chapter 133. Why was Lin in this market? No wonder Xiaoqin came here every day to set up a stall. It turned out that in addition to Tang Tang, there was also Lin, his little lover, here. You are blind. I am so beautiful at home, but you just look at me. You run out every morning to either play with Tang Tang or send food to your little lover. Her family has a stall in front, selling beef noodles. Xiaoqin said. Oh, I heard that there is no beef at all in the beef noodles now. It is all blended with essence. Qing Minjing curled her lips. Xiaoqin didn't know how to answer this. Qing Minjing seemed to have some hostility to Lin. Was it because they were both campus belles? The young lady was a noble campus belle, and Lin was a commoner campus belle. Were they in the same school before? If Xiaoqin knew that the young lady didn't pay attention to his fiancée because he liked Lin before, he really didn't know what to say. She obviously didn't like him, but she still cared about these things? But Xiaoqin didn't know that sometimes a girl's heart was so strange. Qing Minjing didn't like Xiaoqin before, and she despised him very much. But because he was her fiancé, she was unhappy to see him chasing another girl. Tang Tang came to the Lin's noodles stall. At this moment there were no customers. Lin was going to eat something by herself and then go to school. She was going to make some noodles by herself. However, before she made the noodles, Tang Tang came over there. Sister Lin. Sister? Why are you here? Lin looked at Tang Tang with some surprise. I saw that you didn't come to buy fried dough sticks today, so I brought some for you. Tang Tang put the fried dough sticks and soy milk in front of Lin. I'm sorry to bother you. I'm a little busy at home today. Lin naturally couldn't say that her mother was afraid that she wouldn't be able to buy cheap fried dough sticks, so she didn't let her buy them. It doesn't matter. We are about to close the stall. There is nothing to do, so I brought it to you, said Tang Tang. Okay. How much is it? I'll pay you. Lin quickly asked. After all, Tang Tang had sent it to her, and it would be inappropriate for her to refuse. She would buy it even at the original price. I don't want money anymore. Tang Tang smiled and waved her hand. Anyway, we've closed the stall and the extra ones can't be sold. You can have them. This? How can I accept this? Lin rubbed her hands together, not knowing what to do. It doesn't matter. Tang Tang lowered her voice and said, Xiaoqin asked me to send it. After that, Tang Tang turned around and left, leaving Sister Lin standing there in a daze. Did he send it to me? Why is he so good to me? He is already down and out, but he still remembers me. Could it be? Does he really like me? Lin was at a loss. Hey, dead girl, hurry up and bring the fried dough sticks over. I didn't expect that the little fat girl just now was quite generous. She sent you fried dough sticks. Mother Lin was very happy. Today, I don't even have to spend money. I don't want money anymore. Then tomorrow you have to give me some board noodles. Do you understand? Lin Dongliang said, we can't always take advantage of others. We still have to repay others. Yes, I know. Lin Kur hurriedly nodded. Mother Lin felt that a few bowls of board noodles were nothing. It didn't matter if she gave it away, so she didn't say anything and sat down to eat the fried dough sticks. Kerlin ate the fried dough sticks in small bites. Suddenly she felt that there was a feeling of love. No, Xiaochen will definitely not pay attention to me as Cinderella. His former fiancée is Qing Menjing. Kerlin stopped dreaming. Even if Xiaochen is kicked out of the Xiao family, he can't accept the reality so quickly now. He must pity you because you don't have money, so he gave you the fried dough sticks. Must be like this. Tang Tang returned to the previous booth. Xiaochen had packed up his things and got on the tricycle. Tang Tang just wanted to get on the tricycle, but Xiaochen waved his hand and said, Tang Tang, you take young Master Lu's car to school today. You don't have to take such a detour. I will send things to the grocery store myself. Can you do it? Tang Tang actually liked to be with Xiaochen. She felt that taking a car was not as comfortable as walking to school with Xiaochen. Okay, no problem. You can go back first, Xiaochen said. Oh, okay. Tang Tang did not refuse. After all, it was not good for her to refuse. If she insisted on being with Xiaochen, it would not be good for others to think that she liked Xiaochen. Although, Qing Minjing, Jin Beibei and Tang Tang got on Lu Jinming's car. The Land Rover drove out of the morning market street, and Xiaochen sent things back to the old lady's grocery store. Early this morning, the bulletin board of the Warrior Guild actually posted a notice from the Jin family, which meant that Xiaochen would be a friend of the Jin family in the future. Although it was only a sentence, it made people's imagination run wild. How did Xiaochen get involved with the Jin family? However, it was hard to see the relationship between the two from the notice alone. Xiaochen was a friend of the Jin family. This friend could be very close or it could be just an ordinary friend. However, it was just an ordinary friend. The Jin family did not need to spend so much money on advertising and go to the Warrior Guild to make this announcement. However, the advertisement didn't say much. Usually, this kind of announcement would say that so-and-so family and so-and-so family had reached an agreement, or that so-and-so family wanted to protect a certain person. If someone found trouble with that person, it would be considered an enemy of that family. However, Xiaochen and the Jin clan had an indescribable strangeness to them. The clans that saw this could not make heads or tails of it. Kim family. Golden Fur Lion King Jin Zonghai and Jin Baobao's father, Jin Zongshan, were all sitting in Golden Fur Lion King's study. This announcement was made by Jin Zongshan himself. He didn't know the reason. Yesterday he had just visited a family in another city and wanted to find a wife for Jin Baobao. Therefore he didn't know what had happened in the Jin family yesterday. He had not even reached home when he was sent to the Warrior Guild by Golden Fur Lion King's phone call. Although he was equally confused, the Jin family's tradition had always been that old Master Jin's words carried enormous weight. Therefore, Jin Zongshan directly issued an announcement before returning to the Jin family. Father Yuan Xiaochen. What's going on? Jin Zongshan asked with a strange expression. You don't understand? Golden Fur Lion King laughed and said, I want Beibei to marry Xiaochen. What? Jin Zongshan was stunned. Of course he knew who Xiaochen was. He was a good-for-nothing young master who had been driven out by the Xiao family and broken off his engagement with the Cheng family. Why did old Jin want Beibei to marry a good-for-nothing young master who was rejected by the Cheng family and the Xiao family? What kind of idea was that? However, Jin Zonghai was a little silent. After thinking for a while, he said, Father, I understand your idea. But didn't you say that you don't want Beibei to be a sacrifice for the family's interests? If she doesn't want to marry Xiaochen, do you think I'm blind? Let me tell you, if Beibei doesn't want it, I'll be the first to oppose it. But look at Beibei's attitude toward Xiaochen. Didn't you notice anything? Golden Fur Lion King asked. This. Jin Zonghai had to admit that Jin Beibei and Xiaochen's relationship was very good. But they might just be good friends. Should we ask for Beibei's opinion? Yesterday I said that I wanted to give Xiaochen a Jin Beibei. She didn't oppose it, did she? Golden Fur Lion King laughed and said, Don't you know your daughter well? If she didn't like him, she would have opposed it a long time ago. She wouldn't give face to me, her grandpa. That's true. Jin Zonghai thought for a moment. His father knew Jin Beibei better. The main problem right now is that even if we want to give Beibei to him, he might not want it. In my opinion, it seems that Xiaochen is interested in Qing Menjing. Golden Fur Lion King smacked his lips and said, Therefore whatever we say now is just our wishful thinking. It might not come true. Father's second brother, what are you talking about? Why can't I understand anything? Jin Zongshan looked at Golden Fur Lion King and Jin Zonghai in confusion. Isn't that Xiaochen a useless young master? Why does it sound like he is very awesome? Ah, he is more than awesome. He is the best. Golden Fur Lion King slapped his thigh and stood up excitedly. You know what? Your father's injury has been cured. What? Recovered? Jin Zongshan stood up abruptly. Oh, didn't your sect have no way to cure that injury? It's not that there was no way. It's just that with my status back then I couldn't get good treatment. Golden Fur Lion King sighed. However, it's true that many hospitals couldn't do anything. But since last night I've said goodbye to my injury completely. Is it related to Xiaoqin? Jin Zongshan wasn't stupid. Although he didn't want to believe it, old Master Jin had said so many things about Xiaoqin. At this time he mentioned his old injury. The result was self-evident when he put the two together. That's right. Although Xiaoqin is a good-for-nothing in the path of martial arts, it's precisely because he's a good-for-nothing in the path of martial arts that he's been studying medicine since he was young. He wants to solve the problems of his body. I didn't expect his attainments in the path of medicine to have already reached the pinnacle. My injuries were treated by him. Golden Fur Lion King nodded and said seriously, you should know very well what medical attainment means, right? Of course I understand. Jin Zongshan's expression froze. He took a deep breath and said with some doubts, but why didn't the Xiao family discover it before? Or why didn't the Qing family know about it? If they knew, would they give up on Xiaoqin? They would have fought for him long ago, right? Chapter 134. I was a little puzzled before, Jin Zonghai said at this time, but it is an indisputable fact that my father has recovered from his injury. So, in my opinion, it should be because Xiaoqin's reputation as a useless young master was too famous. He studied medicine, but the two families didn't take it seriously. Moreover, no one asked him to treat them. So, the two families had no idea how good Xiaoqin was. At present, this is the reason that makes more sense. You are right. It is indeed so. As the saying goes, it is darkest under the light. Under their eyes, Xiaoqin's shortcoming of being a useless person was magnified infinitely, but no one discovered his advantage of medical skills. After hearing that, Jin Zongshan nodded in agreement. Father, in this case this Xiaoqin is really a talent. If he can join our Jin family, he will be the most powerful helper of our Jin family. That's right. This is also the reason why I asked you to make the announcement. Golden Fur Lion King said, how can icing on the cake be more important than providing timely help? Now Xiaoqin is a thorn in the Qing family's side. We made the announcement. At least, the Qing family dare not do anything to Xiaoqin in the future. It can be considered as a small favor for us to help Xiaoqin. That's true. At least the Qing family will stop here. Jin Zongshan agreed. But won't they suspect our purpose? Haha, we didn't make it clear. They may think that it is Jin Beibei's prank. Golden Fur Lion King said with a smile. In fact, after the announcement was made, all the families went back to study what was going on. Among them, the strangest was the Xiao family. At this moment, the Xiao family welcomed 3 guests. They were regular guests in the past, but now they were rare guests. The 3 of them were the head of the Qing family, Qing Tianqiu, and Qing Tianqiu's 2 sons, Qing Zhongming and Qing Zhongfan. The head of the Xiao family, Xiao Yuanshan, and Qing Tianqiu were sitting together on the main seats in the guest hall. Beside them was Xiao Yuanshan's son, Xiao Hai, and on the other side were Qing Zhongming and Qing Zhongfan. Brother-in-law, what brings you here all of a sudden? Xiao Yuanshan's gaze towards Qing Tianqiu was a little indifferent. The fate between our Xiao and Qing families has come to an end. You guys have mustered such a large force to come here today, it can't be that you are looking for trouble, right? My grandson has already been kicked out of the Xiao family. What more do you want? It could be seen that Xiao Yuanshan still had feelings for Xiaoqin. If it wasn't because he had no other choice, he definitely wouldn't do this. But now the Xiao family felt like the sun was setting in the west. The eldest son, Xiao Feng, was nowhere to be found. The entire Xiao family relied on the second son, Xiao Hai, to support them. And even if the Qing family lost their youngest son, they were still like the sun in the sky. Haha, Big Brother Zhao's words are wrong. Although Xiao Feng has already passed away, she is still your sworn sister. You will always be my big brother. Qing Tianqiu laughed. Alright, since that's the case, let's get down to business. Xiao Yuanshan rubbed his temples. This mess that came one after another really made him a little frustrated. I heard that the Jin family made an announcement that they have become friends with Xiaoqin? Qing Tianqiu asked. He came to probe Xiao Yuanshan. He suspected that the Xiao family gave the Jin family some benefits to make the Jin family do this. I don't know. Since Xiaoqin is no longer a member of our Xiao family, Then I haven't paid attention to what he does and who he interacts with for a long time. Xiao Yuanshan said indifferently. Moreover, isn't he working as a servant for Cheng Menjing? Why don't you just ask Cheng Menjing? Ah, it's okay. It seems that this matter has nothing to do with you. Cheng Tianqiu didn't ask any more. In fact, he called Cheng Menjing in the morning and asked what was the relationship between Xiao Chen and the Jin family. Cheng Menjing's answer was that Xiao Chen and Jin Beibei were quite close, and the two of them were quite good friends. Therefore, the Cheng family had suspected that Jin Beibei was behind it. It was basically impossible for a descendant of another family to influence the decision of the family. It was impossible even for the descendant of the family, let alone a woman. However, the family structure of the Jin family was different from that of other families. Jin Beibei was deeply loved by Old Master Jin. Even Old Master Jin dared to hack the foreign playboy to death when he teased her, which explained a lot of things. Therefore, when Jin Beibei and Xiao Chen played together, it would be easy and pleasant to ask Old Master Jin to make an announcement for them, wouldn't it? Since it was not done by the Xiao family, Cheng Tianqiu didn't care too much about them. If Cheng Zhongfan hadn't mentioned it to him, he would have almost forgotten about Xiao Chen. He didn't care about his life or death. He came here today for another matter. Of course it doesn't matter. I wonder what brother-in-law has come for this time? Xiao Yuanshan asked indifferently. Ah, one more thing. Although Xiao Chen is the descendant of that B***starred Xiao Feng, he has been driven out of the Xiao family. The Cheng family and the Xiao family can't cut off our relationship because of this. We have always been in an alliance. Cheng Tianqiu said. What do you mean by that? Xiao Yuanshan didn't quite understand. Why did Cheng Tianqiu change from one moment to the next? What was his real purpose of coming here? Here's the thing. Zhongfan's son Meng Chong is 15 years old. In the past he would be married and have children. However, in modern times, although we are all from families that practice ancient martial arts, we still have to abide by the rules of the secular world. However, we can get engaged first. Cheng Tianqiu said, I heard that Xiao hasn't found a husband yet? Brother Xiao, why don't we play matchmaker? Xiao. Xiao Yuanshan finally understood the purpose of Cheng Tianqiu's visit. However, he felt that this matter wasn't so simple. There was something strange about it. Although it sounded impeccable, thinking about it carefully, a good horse doesn't return to the grass. This Cheng family broke off the engagement with the Xiao family and came to find the Xiao family for a marriage alliance. Although the target was different, it was equivalent to slapping themselves in the face. This kind of thing, under normal circumstances, the Cheng family wouldn't do it. Why did this Cheng Tianqiu say it out loud? Actually, Cheng Tianqiu didn't want to come. He came here because of Cheng Mingxiang's request. Cheng Mingxiang was one of the more outstanding members of the Cheng family besides Cheng Zhongqian. Cheng Zhongqian's disappearance made Cheng Tianqiu sad, so he could only transfer his energy to Cheng Mingxiang. In the past, although this third-generation descendant was outstanding, he wasn't as outstanding as Cheng Zhongqian. Therefore, once Cheng Zhongqian took over the position of the family head in the future, Cheng Zhongqian's future son could be trained to be the third-generation successor. Therefore, Old Master Cheng wasn't so anxious. After all, if he trained Cheng Zhongqian and Cheng Mingxiang at the same time, there would definitely be problems. In the end, Cheng Zhongqian was only about 10 years older than Cheng Mingxiang. It wasn't realistic to let Cheng Mingxiang take over Cheng Zhongqian's position. When that time came, it would inevitably cause a situation of internal strife. Old Master Cheng wasn't stupid. Naturally, he didn't want to see this situation happen. Therefore, he didn't pay much attention to Cheng Mingxiang before. But now he had to help Cheng Mingxiang take over. Otherwise, wouldn't the Cheng family have no successor? Therefore, after Cheng Mingxiang was confirmed to be the third-generation successor of the Cheng family also had to choose a marriage partner for him. However, Cheng Mingxiang firmly expressed that he liked Xiao. Cheng Tianqiu had just said that all the cultivation resources of the Cheng family would be given to Cheng Mingxiang so that he could grow up as soon as possible and become the pillar of the Cheng family. Therefore, he didn't want to reject Cheng Mingxiang's first request. Anyway, the Cheng family and the Xiao family had a good relationship in the past. It wasn't a big deal for them to get married again, but it would be a little embarrassing. However, when people lived to the age of Old Master Cheng, those things like reputation and whatnot were not as important as family benefits. Reputation was something that young and vigorous masters fought for. Cheng Tianqiu was an old fox. For the sake of benefits, he could even be shameless. Yes, it's Xiao. Cheng Tianqiu nodded his head and said, a fair and graceful lady is a gentleman's desire. After my family's Meng Chong saw Xiao, he was shocked. So, didn't I, your brother-in-law, thicken my face and come to ask for your hand in marriage? This matter is of great importance. Let me think about it and ask for Xiao Zhao's opinion. Xiao Yuanshan didn't immediately agree. He only expressed that he needed to think about it. Why do we still need to discuss this matter with Xiao Xiao? Parents' orders and matchmakers' words. As the elders, we only need to nod our heads. Cheng Tianqiu saw that Xiao Yuanshan didn't agree and instantly felt unhappy in his heart. The Cheng family was the head of the 9 families. To be able to get married with the Xiao family again was already giving the Xiao family enough face. But this Xiao Yuanshan still used all sorts of excuses to reject it. We didn't discuss it in the past. In the end, Chinner's marriage didn't go so smoothly. A dignified fiancé has become a servant. Alas, Xiao Yuanshan sighed. That's why I said that there's a risk in a marriage alliance. You need to be careful when nodding your head. Cheng Tianqiu's face darkened. He was just about to flare up when Cheng Zhongfan hurriedly pulled on Cheng Tianqiu's arm. If he really flamed up, there would basically be no room for negotiation. Cheng Zhongfan didn't want that to happen. He hurriedly said, "Father, Uncle Xiao is right. We should consider it." Okay. Cheng Tianqiu took a deep breath and then he said to Xiao Yuanshan, "Big brother Xiao, think about it properly and give me an answer as soon as possible. Even you know that Meng Chang is the 3rd-generation successor of the Qing clan, so there are plenty of people who can help him with matchmaking." "Alright, I'll consider it carefully." Xiao Yuanshan nodded. "Since it's like that, then we'll be taking our leave." Cheng Tianqiu brought Cheng Zhongming, who hadn't said a word from the beginning, and left the Xiao family with Cheng Mingxiang's father, Cheng Zhongfan. Xiao Hai. After they left, Xiao Yuanshan looked at Xiao Hai and said, "Tell me, what does Cheng Tianqiu want?" What? Xiao Hai was stunned. Isn't he here to propose marriage? Chapter 135. The marriage proposal is not bad, but this matter isn't that simple. Xiao Yuanshan frowned. "I still can't figure out the Qing family's thoughts. I'll just take it one step at a time. If the Cheng family's Cheng Mingxiang marries Xiao Xiao, then we can plead for Xiao Qin to return home. Xiao Hai, what do you think?" Xiao Yuanshan asked word by word. Meh. Xiao Hai was stunned, looking at his father's aggressive gaze. He immediately knew that his father had misunderstood him, bitterly smiled and said, "Dad, it's been so many years I haven't thought about fighting for the family head position. In the past, I was young and didn't want to admit defeat. I felt that I wouldn't lose to my big brother, but now, I'll just do business honestly." "But, father, you mean?" Xiao Yuanshan nodded noncommittally. "I heard that before Xiao Qin became Cheng Menjing's servant, you went to see Cheng Zhongming?" Xiao Hai's heart trembled. He didn't think that his father would know about this matter, but Xiao Hai was a bit puzzled. Back then when Xiao Qin was chased out of the Xiao family, the person who was the most determined was Xiao Yuanshan, but from Xiao Yuanshan's actions today, it seemed that he had the intention of protecting Xiao Qin. Then, did his father still care about Xiao Qin, or was he already disappointed in him? "Please forgive me, father." Xiao Qin lowered his head and said, "When I was young, although I quarreled with Big Brother, I always treated Xiao Qin as my own. Because of this matter, Xiao Xiao and I quarreled many times. It was indeed me who found Cheng Zhongming to give Xiao Qin a temporary place to stay." So back then in the tea house, the well-dressed man was Xiao Hai. Xiao Qin had really misunderstood him. "You've done well." Xiao Yuanshan nodded indifferently. "Your big brother has gone missing. Qin is no longer a member of the Xiao family. I will find a suitable opportunity to announce that you are the successor of the family head." "What?" Xiao Hai was instantly stunned. He didn't think that Xiao Yuanshan would say such a thing after talking for so long, causing him to be at a loss. "Father, I never thought of becoming the patriarch." "I know, but Xiao family, only you are left." Xiao Yuanshan waved his hand, interrupting Xiao Hai's words. "My son, I can still see clearly, not like Cheng Tianqiu, that old fool, thinking that he is old and wise, but actually he is already old." "Father, you mean?" Xiao Hai was stunned. "I'm not sure. Old people tend to be paranoid. I hope it's just my imagination." Xiao Yuanshan didn't continue but changed the topic. "Qin, what's going on with the Jin family?" "I'm not sure about that. I was just about to investigate when the Qing family came." Xiao Hai said honestly. "Okay, go and investigate it immediately, then write back to me." Xiao Yuanshan ordered. "Yes." Xiao Hai hurriedly nodded and walked out of the room to investigate. Xiao Yuanshan, who was originally full of energy, suddenly slumped on the chair. He stretched out his left hand, flipped open his sleeve and looked at the shocking black line on his wrist. He sighed dejectedly, "The poison has risen another step and I don't know when it entered the heart. With my strength I can slow down the spread of the poison, but I can't completely stop it. My son Xiaofeng has gone missing, and my grandson Xiao Qin has been chased out of the Xiao family. Does the heavens want my Xiao family to die or?" Xiao Yuanshan closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. A young man with a somewhat sinister expression sat in an RV. He was currently holding onto a phone, and listening to the angry roar on the other side of the phone. "Why isn't Xiao Qin dead yet? Do you know how to do things? Let me tell you, I can raise you up and similarly I can raise others up. If I haven't heard news of Xiao Qin's death in these few days, then you know the consequences. I understand, please don't worry, I will definitely send Xiao Qin on his way as soon as possible." The young man's tone and his expression were inversely proportional, even if his expression was already extremely angry, but his current tone was still so respectful and apologetic. There was no other way, his fate had long been linked with the other party, and he had too many blackmail points in the other party's hands. Moreover, in the future he would also need to rely on the other party's support. Because the other party's offer was simply too tempting, making him unable to reject. The other party didn't say anything else and hung up the phone, making the young man a little depressed. But he still quickly adjusted his emotions and walked out of the RV. "Young master, you don't need me to send you?" The man who looked like a butler asked carefully. "No need, I'll drive myself." The young man waved his hand and without turning his head, he walked towards an Audi A8L. Since the Qing family and the Xiao family had seen the announcement, the Chao family and the Qin family naturally saw it too. Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping got together as soon as they got the news. "Brother Liang, what the hell is the Jin family doing?" Qin Jinping hated Xiao Qin to death now. Because of Xiao Qin, the relationship between him and Xin Jingxian had become tense, and Xin Jingxian hadn't gone on a date with him since then. Seeing Chao Yuliang get out of an Audi, Qin Jinping hurriedly went up to him and said, "I feel that Jin Beibei can get together with Xiao Qin?" Chao Yuliang did not suspect that there was anything going on between Xiao Qin and Qing Menjing. What he suspected most was Jin Beibei. Since the last time they went out together, Chao Yuliang had discovered that the relationship between Jin Beibei and Xiao Qin was not ordinary. Had Jin Beibei fallen in love with Xiao Qin? Now that he thought about it, it was quite possible. Otherwise, with Jin Beibei's character, how could she not have cheated Xiao Qin? How was that possible? Besides, the children of other noble families could not decide their own marriage, but Jin Beibei was different. Jin Beibei was the apple of the gold fur lion king's eye. If she said that she liked Xiao Qin, whether or not Xiao Qin was a good-for-nothing, the gold fur lion king would probably not care at all. The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Chao Yuliang's face became even more awful. Could it be that Xiao Qin was going to make a comeback again? That was absolutely impossible. Honestly speaking, I'm not so sure about that. Qin Jinping nodded in agreement. Although Jin Beibei is weird and mischievous, that is only for us. She is quite nice to Xiao Qin. If Jin Beibei's shortcomings are ignored, Jin Beibei is also very nice to her. She has a youthful face and a sexy body. She is a dream goddess for everybody. Now that Xiao Qin is under the protection of the Jin family, we cannot mess with him blatantly. Chao Yuliang sighed. That won't do. Brother Liang, we have to figure something out. Xiao Qin is too arrogant. Not only did he cheat us of so much money last time, but his tone was also quite aggressive. He did not respect you at all, Brother Liang. We cannot let him go so easily. Thinking that Xiao Qin and Jin Beibei might be in cahoots, Qin Jinping hated Xiao Qin even more. That was two cars. If we don't let him go easily, what else can we do? It's not like we can kill him in secret, right? Chao Yuliang said casually, but he was secretly amused. If you don't say it, it will be too abrupt if I say that I will kill Xiao Qin directly. In such a case, you want to kill Xiao Qin too. Then we will be in the same boat. Although it seemed that Chao Yuliang had taken in Qin Jinping, who used to be Xiao Qin's lackey, to piss off Xiao Qin, was he not taking advantage of him too? Chao Yuliang was a man who knew how to be patient. He was also very ambitious, which could be seen from the capability that he had been concealing. Xiao Qin's capability was not concealing but something that he had just gained. Chao Yuliang, on the other hand, was an expert at the peak of the third level of internal force. Yes, we have to kill Xiao Qin first. Qin Jinping nodded in agreement after hearing that. Otherwise, if the guy really hooks up with Jin Beibei, won't we be killed by them? Brother Liang, you know what kind of person Jin Beibei is, don't you? Yes, you're right. After Xiao Chen makes a comeback, he will certainly not let go of us. Qiao Yuliang nodded and said, however, the Jin family is now protecting him. What can we do? If we can't kill him directly, we can take a roundabout route. Qin Jinping thought for a moment and said, Xiao Chen is arrogant and greedy. We can cater to his interests. For example, we can ask him to race a car and create an accident during the race. Or we can gamble with money and then bet our lives with him. Well, the two methods that you mentioned are indeed feasible. Qiao Yuliang's eyes shone after hearing that. This Qin Jinping was not a complete idiot after all. He was rather smart. Other things aside, Xiao Chen's greed for money was obvious to all. Even if he and Jin Beibei got together, Jin Beibei was just as greedy. More importantly, the Jin family did not have much money either. If Xiao Chen wanted money, he would have to resort to other methods. Therefore, Qiao Yuliang felt that as long as he played the trick well and used money as the bait, Xiao Chen would definitely be fooled. Is that so? Brother Liang, you think it's feasible too? Qin Jinping was totally talking nonsense. He liked racing and gambling, so he used the trick without thinking. He did not expect that Qiao Yuliang would really agree with him. It's feasible. Qiao Yuliang nodded and said, you used to work for Xiao Chen. Tell me, does Xiao Chen like racing or gambling? Oh, I think he likes both a little, but he is not too addicted to them. Qin Jinping did not dare to lie. He could only tell the truth. But he usually plays with cars more. He used to have a Porsche 911, and he asked me to modify it for him. Fine. Let's race a car. Put a bigger prize on it so that he cannot refuse it. Qiao Yuliang was a little anxious. Anyway, he had to test whether the trick would work or not. Contact him later and ask for his opinion. Okay. Qin Jinping nodded quickly. If he agrees, what should we do? You don't have to worry about that. I'll arrange it. Qiao Yuliang was still worried about Qin Jinping. It would be fine if he got Qin Jinping to contact Xiao Chen, but if Qin Jinping really prepared these things, it would be terrible if he messed things up. Chapter 136. When Xiao Chen returned to school, Lu Jinming had already arrived. Glancing at the Land Rover in the parking lot, Xiao Chen was about to go to the teaching building when another Land Rover roared past Xiao Chen. If it weren't for Xiao Chen's quick reaction as a cultivator, he would have almost scratched the rearview mirror. Looking at the Land Rover braking beautifully and stopping in the parking lot, Xiao Chen frowned slightly. This was Qi Zhigao's car, and his sister Xiao Xiao was also sitting in the car. If it were any other time, Xiao Chen might go over and beat him up again. Anyway, he had Lu Jinming and Yu Xiaochuan to back him up. What was there to be afraid of? However, Xiao Xiao was also there, which made Xiao Chen sigh in the end. His cousin had a good relationship with Xiao Chen when they were young. He didn't know when it started, but after Xiao Chen was called a useless young master and a playboy, Xiao Xiao gradually drifted away from him. However, regardless of whether Xiao Xiao hated him or not, Xiao Chen decided to forget it. In Xiao Chen's heart, Xiao Xiao was still the little girl who followed him all day and asked him to take her out to play. The sister who only knew how to sweetly call him brother, brother. Although Xiao Chen was no longer a member of the Xiao family, this inseparable family affection still made Xiao Chen not find trouble with Qi Zhigao again. However, he didn't find trouble with Qi Zhigao, but Qi Zhigao found trouble with him. Isn't this young master Xiao Chen? Qi Zhigao jumped out of the car and looked at Xiao Chen sarcastically. What's the matter? Without young master Xiaochuan to back you up today, are you a coward? Xiao Chen looked at Qi Zhigao coldly. Today, Qi Zhigao didn't cross his bottom line, so Xiao Chen was too lazy to care about him. What? Wanna leave? Stop right there. Qi Zhigao was quite aggrieved 2 days ago. Not only was he beaten by Xiao Chen, but his car was also smashed. Although Yu Xiaochuan helped to mediate, when Qi Zhigao saw Xiao Chen again, he was still furious. Did you forget the pain after the scar healed? Xiao Chen stopped and looked at Qi Zhigao coldly. Ha 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 ha. After Qi Zhigao heard this, he suddenly laughed crazily. Xiao Xiao, did you hear what your useless brother said? You're still acting tough in front of me at a time like this? Xiao Xiao got out of the car and frowned. However, she said, if you're willing to stoop to his level, you can stay here. I'm the speaker for the morning self-study session. I'll be leaving first. Hey, wait for me, I'll go too. Qi Zhigao's anger suddenly disappeared. He quickly followed Xiao Xiao and ran toward the direction of the middle school department. However, before he left, he didn't forget to stare at Xiao Chen. In fact, with Xiao Chen's strength, Qi Zhigao's stage 3 inner force was nothing to be afraid of. It was just that Xiao Chen was too lazy to care about him. Anyway, Xiao Xiao seemed to have a good impression of Qi Zhigao. At least she didn't reject him. It was hard to say whether the two of them would end up together. Xiao Chen didn't want to embarrass Xiao Xiao too much. Walking in the direction of the teaching building, Xiao Chen's phone rang. He picked up the phone and saw that it was actually Qin Jinping. Little Peng, what's up? By the way, is Chao Yuliang okay? He's not dead, right? Xiao Chen picked up the phone. Brother Liang is fine. Qin Jinping coughed twice and said, well, young Master Xiao, do you look like you're short of money? How do you know? What's the matter? Is there any activity that requires my appearance fee? Xiao Chen asked. The only topic that he could talk about with Qin Jinping was money. As for whether the mastermind behind the scenes was Chao Yuliang, Qin Jinping probably didn't know. Chao Yuliang was such a patient person that it was impossible for him to tell his affairs to a fool like Qin Jinping. Although he got a total of 1.9 million yuan from the underground competition that day, the appearance fee given by Qin Jinping and the tip given by Miss Xiao totaled 350,000 yuan, and he spent 500,000 yuan on medicine. He still had 1.75 million yuan left. It seemed to be a lot, but who knew whether the price of medicine would increase next time? If the price increased, it was uncertain whether the money would be enough to buy a medicine. Cultivation really burned money. Ah yes, there is indeed an appearance fee. Qin Jinping was really afraid that Xiao Chen wasn't short of money. Now it seemed that Xiao Chen was still a poor man who was greedy for money. This is the case. Bolong Mountain Road has recently started to hold an underground racing competition. Have you forgotten that we won money in the past? Oh, it seems so. Xiao Chen nodded after listening, but he asked calmly, what does that have to do with me? Xiao Chen, didn't you just get a Porsche 991 from me? You could win the previous 911. Now you can win even more. Qin Jinping said, are you going to participate in the competition? Should I help you sign up? Are you addicted to being my underling? Now you still want to help me sign up? Xiao Chen was baffled. Does Qin Jinping have nothing better to do? He actually has the mind to care about this kind of thing? It was true that many of Xiao Chen's things were done by Qin Jinping in the past, but now Qin Jinping was so active. It would be strange if there was no problem. As for that race, it was a complete fluke. The driver's car broke down, so Xiao Chen won. Of course, with Xiao Chen's arrogant performance at the time, he must have deliberately ignored this external factor. Ah yeah, you don't say. I'm a bit of a masochist. I like to be someone else's underling. If I don't do it, I will feel bad. Qin Jinping said, how about it, Xiao Chen? Do you want to earn some extra money? When? Let me think about it, said Xiao Chen. Tomorrow night, said Qin Jinping. Okay, I'll call you when I think about it. In fact, Xiao Chen didn't have to participate in this kind of racing competition, because the money won in a race wasn't much. It was only 200,000 yuan. The risk was quite high. However, for the playboys who pursued excitement, these races were still very refreshing, so there were many people who went to race every night. The reason why Xiao Chen agreed was that Qin Jinping's words were a bit strange. He said that he was used to being an underling, but it was simply **t. He was used to being an underling of Chao Yuliang. How could he come back to look for Xiao Chen? Therefore this matter was obvious. The reason why Qin Jinping looked for him was because of Chao Yuliang's instruction. Why did Chao Yuliang look for him? If he was really the behind-the-scenes manipulator, then there was only one purpose for him to find me, and that was to kill me. Xiao Chen really didn't know how he had offended this guy. It was true that the two of them were at loggerheads in school, but it wasn't to the point where they were at each other's throats. Chao Yuliang had tried to kill him time and time again, so Xiao Chen could only link him to his father's disappearance. Perhaps it was a series of conspiracies. Since he had already locked on the target, Xiao Chen wanted to have more contact with Chao Yuliang. Only with more contact could he be sure that the behind-the-scenes manipulator was not him. If there was someone who wanted to kill him in the race, it would undoubtedly be Chao Yuliang. After hanging up the phone, Xiao Chen walked into the teaching building, but he saw an acquaintance. It was Yu Xiaochuan, who he hadn't seen for a long time. Seeing Xiao Chen, Yu Xiaochuan's face suddenly showed a smile. Young Master Xiao, how have you been? I heard from Lu Zi that you two have a good relationship recently? And young Master Lu has been taking good care of me. Xiao Chen nodded. That's good. You two are my good friends. It's best if you can get along well. Yu Xiaochuan was actually quite puzzled. He bumped into Lu Jinming this morning and wanted to talk to him about Xiao Chen. He didn't expect Lu Jinming to say that he and Xiao Chen had been getting along very well recently, and the two were already good friends. This made Yu Xiaochuan inexplicable. Didn't Lu Jinming hate Xiao Chen so much that he couldn't wait to kill him immediately? However, since Lu Jinming and Xiao Chen had a good relationship, Yu Xiaochuan was also relieved. Tang Fangbai, the old man, was an old fox. He didn't agree to break off the engagement, nor did he say that he wouldn't break off the engagement. He just dragged it on. It seemed that he wanted more benefits. Yu Xiaochuan planned to talk to him in a few days. At this critical moment, if Xiao Chen was killed by Lu Jinming, then Tang Tang would fall into his hands again. By the way, Qi Zhigao seemed to be very unhappy with me this morning. Young Master Kun, I'm a little scared. Can he beat me up? Xiao Chen said weakly. That can't be. If there's anything you can find me or Lu Zi. In this school, our words are still very useful. As for Qi Zhigao, I'll go and warn him. Yu Xiaochuan said quickly. Okay, then let's talk more, young Master Kun. Xiao Chen waved his hand at him and turned around to enter the classroom. Yu Xiaochuan took a deep breath. This Xiao Chen really took him as a troublemaker. However, he had to help him. After all, he wanted Xiao Chen to live a long life. When Xiao Chen entered the classroom, he saw Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei whispering something. He didn't care about it but walked to Tang Tang and sat down beside her. In fact, what Xiao Chen didn't know was that the eldest Miss and Jin Beibei were talking about him. Beibei, what's going on? Just now, my family called me and asked me about the relationship between Xiao Chen and the Jin family. Why did your family announce in the Warriors Guild that Xiao Chen is your family's friend? Qing Minjing asked. Didn't Xiao Chen say that he didn't want others to know his medical skills? I don't know. Maybe Grandpa is afraid that someone will bully my cousin-in-law. Jin Beibei said, anyway, he didn't say that he has medical skills. It doesn't matter. It just so happens that some small fries dare not trouble my cousin-in-law anymore. Okay. Qing Minjing was a little hesitant. Should she tell Grandpa the truth? If she told him, Grandpa would definitely find out how powerful Xiao Chen was. At that time, as long as the Qing family didn't pursue it, it would be reasonable for him to return to the Xiao family. However, did that mean that the engagement between him and her was going to be restored? For a moment, Qing Minjing was a little worried. It was impossible for Chao Yuliang to scam him out of money. Chao Yuliang would not go through so much trouble to get Qin Jinping to race with him just to scam him out of $200,000. There was no need to do so unless he had nothing better to do. So, with the Jin family's announcement, why did they still target him? Did Chao Yuliang have the courage to go against the Jin family? It seemed like Qin Jinping was so scared that he pissed his pants. Since it was unlikely, what if, why not? Could it be that after Chao Yuliang saw the Jin family's announcement, he was so anxious to deal with me? Otherwise, why didn't he mention racing at dinner last night, but only this morning? The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. In this way, these things could be explained. Chao Yuliang saw the Jin family's announcement, so he wanted to kill me as soon as possible. What benefits did the Jin family's announcement bring to me? Except that I might be able to turn over a new leaf and return to the Xiao family, it didn't seem to affect Chao Yuliang too much, right? Unless Chao Yuliang didn't want me to return to the Xiao family. Thinking of this possibility, Xiao Chen could not help but nod secretly. So, when I was kicked out of the Xiao family, Chao Yuliang should also be involved. What kind of role did he play? Did he fan the flames and provoke the relationship between the Xiao family and the Qing family? Or, the disappearance of my father also had something to do with Chao Yuliang? However, Chao Yuliang was just a warrior at the peak of the third level of internal force. He was one of the best among the younger generation, but he was nothing among the warriors. How could he make such a big noise and make a master at the 8th level of internal force, Xiao Feng, and a master at the 7th level of internal force, Qing Zhongqin, disappear? If Chao Yuliang really did it, Xiao Chen had to wonder if he was also possessed by a powerful soul. Otherwise, how could he be so powerful? On the other hand, this incident made Xiao Chen even more determined to go to Mountain Fighting Dragon the next day. Not for anything else but to confirm if Chao Yuliang was that person. As long as he had a goal, it would be much easier in the future. What? That's it? Zheng Xiaoquan was a little puzzled after hearing it. Actually, it's that simple. Xiao Chen nodded. Then, as if he suddenly recalled something, he said, by the way, wasn't Jin Beibei's car stolen at noon that day? I found it for her. Later, old Master Jin invited us to dinner and thanked me. Oh, by the way, there's another thing. Zheng Xiaoquan remembered that Tang Tang, him, and Xiao Chen were going to have lunch at noon that day when they were called away by Jin Beibei. However, he was a little surprised. Did you find the car? How did you find it? That's easy. Xiao Chen said with a bitter smile, Jean Beibei stole the car from Qin Jinping. Since it was lost, the biggest suspect was naturally Qin Jinping. I took them to Qin Jinping's house and found it. Puff. That explains a lot. It's that simple. Zheng Xiaoquan was greatly enlightened. That's probably it. I'm told that old Master Jean is a straightforward man. If he likes you, he likes you. If he doesn't like you, he doesn't like you. If you make Jean Beibei happy, he must think that you are a nice guy. So, he did you a favor at little cost so that you wouldn't be bullied again. However, it seems that Lu Jinming hasn't been bothering you recently, has he? Yes, he wants me to help him chase Cheng Minjing, and he even gave me money. Xiao Qin didn't hide this matter. It wasn't important anyway. What? Zheng Xiaoquan's eyes widened. You help Lu Jinming chase Cheng Minjing? Is this for real? You agreed? Tang Tang had been listening. Hearing that Xiao Chen was going to help Lu Jinming chase Cheng Minjing, she could not help but interject. Isn't she your goddess? How can you help him? Ah, you two are so serious. Xiao Chen could not help but laugh. I can't even chase her myself. How can I help him? If I really have that ability, I will chase her myself. Only an idiot like him will believe me. Ha ha, that's what I said. Zheng Xiaoquan burst out laughing. That was true. If Xiao Chen could catch up, he would have already caught up. Would it be his turn to help him catch up? Tang Tang curled her lips and did not say anything. Nothing important happened that day. In the evening, Xiao Chen returned home. He still walked back. Cheng Minjing was sent back by Jean Beibei. Their car was parked at the school in the morning. The first thing he did was to turn on the electric clay pot and begin to boil the medicine. Then he went to the kitchen to cook for the young lady. He bought a lot of vegetables in the fruit store yesterday, and they came in handy tonight. When he was cooking, he happened to meet Yi Xiaoye, who came downstairs. Seeing that Xiao Chen was cooking, she hesitated for a moment and walked over. She said, "Later, I will boil some medicine in the kitchen. Can you tell Cheng Minjing that you made it?" Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. My electric clay pot is broken. I didn't have time to buy a new one. If I boil the medicine in the kitchen, I'm afraid that your young lady will be busy, Yi Xiaoye said. Is that so? No problem. Give me the medicinal ingredients and I'll brew it for you, Xiao Chen agreed readily. After all, when he did not have an electric clay pot, Yi Xiaoye lent him one. Even though she gave it to him because of Jean Beibei, Xiao Chen still owed her a favor. In the past, Xiao Chen couldn't be any poorer, and the electric cooker was a huge expense. If it weren't for Yi Xiaoye, Xiao Chen wouldn't have found such a good thing. When had the previous young master Xiao ever heard of such a thing? It was even more impossible for the elder heaven ancestor to know about it. Therefore, if it were not for Yi Xiaoye, Xiao Chen would probably still be boiling medicine in the kitchen every day under the young lady's disdain. Well, okay. Yi Xiaoye wanted to boil it herself, but if Cheng Minjing saw it, it would be difficult to explain. Could she say that she helped Xiao Chen boil the medicine? Obviously it would be a lie. But you must boil it for 3 hours, no more and no less. Don't worry. I will keep an eye on it for you, Xiao Chen nodded and said. Thank you. Yi Xiaoye nodded and put a bag of medicine on the counter next to Xiao Chen. Then she turned around and went upstairs. This girl was pretty and had a good figure, but she was too cold. Looking at Yi Xiaoye's back, Xiao Chen shook his head secretly. If Yi Xiaoye's character was a little better, he would definitely ask her about the bitter fruit. In that case, he would not have spent so much money on the herbs. However, Yi Xiaoye was so unapproachable that it was difficult for Xiao Chen to have any contact with her. After cooking, Xiao Chen put Yi Xiaoye's herbs into the clay pot. He adjusted the size of the flame and began to boil it slowly. Then he used his phone to send a message to the young lady, asking her to come down to eat. After a while, he saw Cheng Minjing yawning and coming down from upstairs. You're sleeping? Xiao Chen looked at the young lady's face, which looked like a red apple. It was quite cute. He couldn't help but be slightly surprised. Cheng Minjing didn't sleep so early, right? And my body is a little uncomfortable. I fell asleep after lying down for a while. Cheng Minjing nodded and sat in front of the dining table. Uncomfortable? Xiao Chen looked at the young lady's weak look and asked quickly, where are you uncomfortable? However, after spending time with him, Cheng Minjing didn't want Xiao Chen to leave, because she was very comfortable with this servant. When Cheng Minjing heard about this from her family, she was in a bad mood because of her stomach pain. She laid on the bed and fell asleep after thinking about it. When it was time to eat, she told Xiao Chen. What? Xiao Xiao. Xiao Chen was stunned after listening to Cheng Minjing's words. Qing Mingqiang wants to marry Xiao Xiao? What is the Qing family up to? At this moment, Xiao Qin seemed to have caught something in his mind, but it was just a flash. Qing family? Xiao family? Another marriage? Xiao Qin shook his head. The thought of that moment had already disappeared. Xiao Qin thought about it, but he couldn't think of any reason. He felt a little sorry for Xiao Xiao. He didn't like Qing Mingqiang. He was too scheming. He wasn't even as good as Qi Zhigao. And Qing Minjing shrugged. You may have to go back to the Xiao family. Hee, I'm doing well now. Why should I go back? Of course Xiao Qin couldn't go back. After he went back, how could he investigate the people who were targeting him and his father? Really? Qing Minjing seemed to be a little happy after listening. Humph, at least you still have a little conscience. You know that I treat you well. Xiao Qin was slightly stunned and then he smiled. Yeah. Xiao Qin knew that Qing Minjing was thinking wrongly, but he didn't explain. Before, Xiao Qin thought that Qing Minjing was forced to take him in. Now it seemed that they got along quite well. Then he could still swindle some money from Lu Jinming to buy medicine. After Qing Minjing finished dinner, she went upstairs to rest. Xiao Qin went to the kitchen to help Yi Xiaoya boil medicine. This gas stove wasn't like the electric earthenware pot. It could be set on time. Xiao Qin had to keep an eye on it at all times. However, Xiao Qin set an alarm clock with his mobile phone, and then he sat next to it and practiced. After a while, the medicinal liquid in Xiao Qian's room was ready. Xiao Qin went to take it and drank it. Then he started to exercise in the kitchen. At the beginning, the feeling was the same as every day. But soon Xiao Qin found something wrong. This feeling made Xiao Qian's heart tremble, and his expression became dignified. I'm about to break through. This feeling was similar to the previous breakthroughs. It was the kind of feeling where water overflowed when it was full. The vitality circled along the meridians and circulated in Xiao Qian's body. With the continuous increase of vitality, Xiao Qin seemed to feel that the moment was approaching. Immediately afterward, the vitality in Xiao Qian's meridians slowly stopped, and then it quickly rushed to his dantian. At this moment, the vitality in his body continuously poured into Xiao Qian's dantian. Xiao Qin only felt like his dantian was about to explode. The vitality in his dantian was constantly being compressed. This feeling was exactly the same as when Xiao Qin broke through previously. Therefore, although it was painful for Xiao Qin, he could still grit his teeth and persevere. It was just that this time, it was obviously more painful than before. Not only was his dantian swollen to the point of pain, but Xiao Qian's entire body was also filled with a burning feeling. It was like a chain reaction, and it seemed that his dantian had also affected his entire body. Boom! After about half an hour or so, Xiao Qian's body suddenly trembled, and in the meridians in his body, it was as if something had been broken, bringing with it a trembling pain, and a burning feeling as if his whole body was being burned by fire. Xiao Qin knew that he was about to break through. However, the clothes on his body had also been burned to ashes by the hot temperature. It wasn't until Xiao Qin felt a cold feeling that he realized that he was actually naked. F***C. If I broke through on the street, wouldn't they think that I was a psychopath who ran out to run naked? Xiao Qin let out a long sigh of relief, and then cursed in embarrassment. He wondered if the elder heaven ancestor had encountered such an embarrassing thing when he broke through in the past. Stinking brat, you still dare to make up stories about your master in your head. A fierce reprimanding voice came into Xiao Qian's ears. We cultivators cultivate to become immortals, and the clothes we usually wear are naturally specially made so they won't be burned at all. You're wearing ordinary clothes, so who can you blame? Oh, so that's how it is. Xiao Qin was a little embarrassed after hearing this. But, you broke through so quickly, kid? It doesn't make sense. The elder heaven ancestor said with some doubt. Doesn't make sense? Is cultivation very scientific? Xiao Qin was a little speechless. Why did the elder heaven ancestor's words sound so awkward? The science I'm talking about is the science of the cultivation world, and it's not the same science as yours. Kid, don't change the subject. The elder heaven ancestor said angrily. You're actually a cultivator at the 4th level of the refinement stage now. This speed is too fast and your foundation is not stable. I'm afraid that there will be a problem. What problem could there be? Xiao Qin asked quickly, shocked. It's hard to say. Originally you were cultivating backwards, so there's no reference. However, according to the consistent principle of cultivators, that is, more haste, less speed. Only by taking one step at a time can you reach the peak in the future. Only those evil cultivators will pursue the speed of cultivation by any means necessary. The elder heaven ancestor said. But there's an obvious drawback, and that is you'll lose your mind. That's scary. Xiao Chen was a little worried after hearing this. Then what should I do? What else can you do? Who asked you to cultivate so stupidly? What can I do? The elder heaven ancestor looked helpless. Damn. Then I'll just hold on? Xiao Chen was really speechless. This master didn't seem very reliable. It doesn't matter. I'll help you follow up. If you have any problems, I'll help you find them in time. The elder heaven ancestor said. Xiao Chen had no other way. He could only do this. He could not cultivate now, right? He knew that there might be trouble, but for the sake of strength, he had to keep going. Xiao Chen was asking the elder heaven ancestor questions about cultivation when Yi Xiaoya's voice came from the kitchen door. Xiao Chen, is my medicine ready? Ah. Xiao Chen was shocked. He subconsciously reached out to cover the important parts of his body. This had been seen by Yi Xiaoya once before. This made Xiao Chen feel really embarrassed. Ah? Yi Xiaoya walked into the kitchen and saw the naked Xiao Chen. She suddenly screamed, Xiao Chen, what are you doing? Why aren't you wearing clothes again? I'm sorry. Xiao Chen suddenly felt a little ashamed. I just practiced. I accidentally burned my clothes and I couldn't stop. Damn, do you think I'm stupid? How can the special effects in TV commercials be real? Yi Xiaoya pouted, but seeing that Xiao Chen was helping her with the medicine, she didn't say anything. Well, actually, I was in the room. I was sweating from the exercise, so I didn't wear clothes. However, my phone reminded me that the time for your medicine was almost up, so I came to take a look. I didn't expect you to come down. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. Then you can say it directly. Yi Xiaoya said disdainfully, thank you. You can go back and wear clothes now. I'll do it myself. Chapter 139. And Xiao Chen nodded and quickly went back to his room. Xiao Chen realized that Yi Xiaoya, the cool girl, was not completely cool. At least this time, the two of them had a few words. And this was a good start. When they were more familiar with each other, Xiao Chen planned to ask her about the Kuji fruit. In fact, it would take more than 10 minutes for the potion to be ready, so Yi Xiaoya decided to wait here. In her boredom, she found some ashes near the stove. It seemed to be the remains of burning cotton fabric. What is this? It's so strange. Yi Xiaoya pinched it with her hand and twisted it in her hand. It really smells like burnt clothes. Could it be that Xiao Chen's clothes were really burnt? It's so strange. Could it be that he accidentally touched the flame and was embarrassed to say it out loud? Yi Xiaoya thought. Xiao Chen returned to his room and quickly took a hot shower to wash the sweat and mud off his body. Suddenly, he thought of the dregs in the electric clay pot, so he quickly asked, Elder Heaven Ancestor, this medicine has been used for 2 days. Can I continue to brew the medicine tomorrow with the remaining dregs? No, it's stage 4, it's time to change the medicine. Elder Heaven Ancestor said lightly. Of course you can use it if you want. Drink it as a beverage. Who would drink such a disgusting beverage? Xiao Chen was speechless and at the same time his heart was bleeding. 500,000. My money. I only used it for 2 days and it's all gone? Isn't this too wasteful? He's even more wasteful than the young master of the Xiao family before. He spends money like water. I'll give you a new prescription. Don't forget to get the medicine tomorrow. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, not bad. Now, even if you face a martial artist at the peak of stage 4 of inner force, you'll be able to fight him. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what kind of special abilities do I have at the 4th level of refinement stage? Xiao Chen asked. Oh, level 4 refinement stage. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, the greatest ability of a cultivator at the 4th level of the refinement stage is the transformation of primordial qi. Transformation of vitality? Xiao Chen didn't quite understand. What does that mean? Actually, it's very simple. The so-called yuan energy conversion is to convert the yuan energy in your body into other types of energy. For example, you can convert it into flames, water vapor, electricity, energy, and so on. It can also be used as nutrients to accelerate the ripening of plants. For example, if you plant a cherry tree, you can use essence to accelerate the ripening of the cherries, greatly reducing the ripening period. The Elder Heaven Ancestor explained, of course, the effect of accelerated ripening is 100 times, 1,000 times better than normal ripening. This is because your yuan qi is formed from the purest spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It's much better than the yuan qi you injected in such a short amount of time. One is inside and the other is on the surface. Is it really so awesome? Xiao Chen's eyes bulged. Then can I cook without gas in the future? Can I use a telephone? Can I make some water when I take a bath instead of using a water heater? Can I only buy seeds and accelerate the ripening of the vegetables? Can I drive without gas? Yes, you can. The elder heaven ancestor said affirmatively. However, it will be hard for you to recover your yuan qi after it is used up. If you don't want to break into the 5th level of the refinement stage, just keep using it. You can use it however you want. You don't need to save it. It was not until then that Xiaoqun realized that the yuan qi in his body was limited. If he used it up, he would have to train himself to get it back. It was fine to cook some delicacies with yuan qi for Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei occasionally, but if he used it for this or that, it wouldn't be long before his yuan qi ran out, and a night of training would be wasted. How could he break into the 5th level of the refinement stage then? It's just an emergency. Even in the world of cultivators, nobody would waste their yuan qi like that. The elder heaven ancestor said, besides, I was counting on your yuan qi for me to use. What should I do if you waste it? Fine. Xiaoqun gave up on that unrealistic idea of saving money. Only by doing this could he save some money. Compared to what he spent, it was simply not worth it. The 4th level of the refinement stage. When he calmed down, Xiaoqun had a feeling that everything was unreal. How long had it been since he left the Xiao family? The life of the useless young master was still vivid in his mind. But in the blink of an eye, he had become a martial arts expert, a medical expert, and a brilliant cultivator. Equivalent to a martial artist at the peak of the 4th level of inner force? Was this the martial arts that he had been dreaming of since he was a kid? Xiaoqun, among the younger generation of the aristocratic families in Songning City, was already in existence far ahead of them. Of course, it could not be ruled out that some people were hiding their real strength. Chao Yuliang was already so powerful. What about the others? Yu Xiaochuan was not someone who was easy to deal with. Perhaps, only Lu Jinming and Qin Jinping did not hide anything? Thinking of this, Xiaoqun increasingly felt that these young masters from the big families were not simple. Thinking of the past, he thought that he had deceived everyone. But what was the result? Wasn't he kicked out of the Xiao family and his father missing? It seemed that hiding one's strength was just a small path after all. Only when one had absolute strength that was the true path. If Xiaoqun had not become a cultivator, he was afraid that he would have died in the hands of Lu Jinming before Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping could make a move. Don't look at how this kid did not have any deep schemes. When it came to being ruthless, he was the best of two. He dared to kill someone with his car in the downtown area. What else could he not do? Xiaoqun secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, he met the elder heaven ancestor so that he could play Lu Jinming like a monkey. Otherwise, it was hard to say who was playing who. The night was silent. Xiaoqun consolidated his strength of the 4th level of the refinement stage. It was not until dawn that Xiaoqun stopped. He put on his clothes and went out of the house to the morning market street. Today was Saturday. Xiaoqun had to set up a stall on the morning market street all day. When he arrived at the old auntie's grocery store, Tang Tang was already there preparing. Morning, Xiaoqun. I have prepared a little more today. But, you are a great boxing master. I don't think you will be interested in this little bit of money. Tang Tang laughed. No matter how small a mosquito is, it's still meat. Why won't I be interested? Xiaoqun was so poor that he almost went crazy. The medicine bought with 500,000 yuan made him blind in 2 days. What a waste. Haha, well, look at your miser. I will only ask for my living expenses. You can have the rest. Tang Tang nodded with satisfaction. As long as Xiaoqun accompanied her to sell breakfast every day, she would be very happy. Tang Tang felt very warm. Although the days were dull and hard, it seemed to be the life she wanted. There were no disputes in big families. There were no intrigues between people. She just wanted to be with her favorite, her buddy. Xiaoqun rode the bike and Tang Tang sat in the back. He did not expect to meet Ke Lin's family at the entrance of the morning market street. Ke Lin and Mrs. Lin were pushing the bike in the back, and Lin Dongliang was riding in the front to control the direction. Sister Lin? Tang Tang saw Ke Lin and greeted her. Ah, it's my sister and Xiaoqun. You also set up the stall so early. It's really hard. Ke Lin did not dare to look at Xiaoqun and just said to Tang Tang. Well, come and get the fried dough sticks later. I prepared one more for you. Tang Tang smiled. Well, thank you, sister. I will also bring you some noodles. Ke Lin said quickly. Tang Tang's stall was near the outside and Ke Lin's stall was inside. Tang Tang inherited the stall of the grocery store's auntie. This breakfast stall used to belong to the auntie, but she was now old and could not afford to work hard. Tang Tang just wanted to do it, so she made it for her so the location was better. Soon they arrived at Xiao Chen's stall. Xiao Chen waved his hand to Kerlin. Kerlin blushed and said, "Well." Then she turned and left. She did not dare to let her mother see that she was very familiar with Xiao Chen. "You don't like her? Or do you like Cheng Menjing?" Tang Tang saw that Xiao Chen did not seem to have much interest in Kerlin, so she asked curiously. "It's nothing. I said that I am afraid that she will be harassed." Xiao Chen shook his head and said, "She and I are people from two different worlds. She will not understand what these aristocratic families and martial artists are like. I can't give her anything. What's more, I am not even Xiao Chen now. I can't afford to support myself. Why should I support her? Well, in my opinion, it's you who still can't forget Cheng Menjing." Tang Tang understood it in her heart. "Otherwise, it is impossible for you to be with her. There is a gap between your identity and background. Why do you still stay in the villa and not leave?" "How is it possible?" Xiao Chen said with a wry smile. "It's just that when I was down and out, she gave me a place to live. I can't say that now that I am a little better, I will leave, right?" Okay. You are right, okay?" Tang Tang said helplessly. Soon the two of them were busy. Since the business had opened, they didn't have much time to chat. A busy day had begun. Lu Zhiming felt that Cheng Menjing seemed to like eating fried dough sticks, so he also wanted to give it a try this morning. He wanted to treat Cheng Menjing to breakfast and promote their relationship. He picked up the phone and dialed Xiao Chen's number first. Xiao Chen was frying fried dough sticks when the phone rang. He thought it was Cheng Menjing looking for him. But when he saw it was Lu Zhiming, he suddenly picked up the phone and said angrily, "Lu Zhiming, what are you doing?" Lu Zhiming was stunned. He thought that why Xiao Chen's tone was so fierce today. Did he take gunpowder or something? However, he asked Xiao Chen for help. Even if he was angry, he didn't dare to hang up the phone. He could only ask weakly, "Xiao Chen, you are so hot-tempered today. Get to the point." Xiao Chen said impatiently. In fact, I want to treat Cheng Menjing to breakfast today. Let's go to your place in the morning market street. Can you help me check and see if she got up?" Lu Zhiming asked quickly. Chapter 140. I say, young Master Lu, is there something wrong with your brain? I'm frying Youqiao in the morning market. How would I know if she has woken up? Besides, I'm in the same villa with her. It's not the same room, let alone the same floor. How would I know? If she wakes up and doesn't leave the house, I won't know. Xiao Chen said angrily. Yes. I'm sorry. I'll ask myself. Lu Zhiming listened to Xiao Chen's words and laughed instead of being angry. This just proved that the relationship between Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing wasn't close at all. The relationship between the two was just that of a master and a servant. Xiao Chen hung up the phone directly. He was now a cultivator at the 4th level of the Qi refinement stage, so his words were quite tough. At least he wouldn't be bullied by others like before. After Lu Zhiming called Xiao Chen, he dialed Cheng Menjing's phone number directly. However, the phone rang a few times but no one picked up. Even when it was automatically cut off, no one picked up. However, Lu Zhiming persevered and dialed a second time. This time, the phone didn't ring for long before Cheng Menjing picked up, but Lu Zhiming's ears were almost deafened. Lu Zhiming, do you want to die? You're disturbing my sleep so early in the morning. Do you want to die? Cheng Menjing had a stomachache and wanted to sleep in, but the phone kept ringing. After ringing once, she thought it would stop ringing, but it didn't take long for it to start ringing again. Cheng Menjing had no choice but to take the phone and look at the caller ID. She suddenly exploded in anger. Lu Zhiming realized that he was a bit stupid. Today was Saturday and he went to school as a normal day. The result was a tragedy. However, the call had already been made, so he could only bite the bullet and say, "That? Miss Cheng, I want to treat you to breakfast. Do you want me to pick you up at your house?" Cheng Menjing was woken up and she couldn't sleep anymore. She thought that the Youqiao yesterday was really delicious, so her attitude was a little better. Alright, I'll forget about it for the sake of eating Youqiao. I'm going to inspect my servants. Okay, then I'll go to Qianhua Shuibian district now. Lu Zhiming knew that Cheng Menjing lived in Qianhua Shuibian district, but he didn't know the specific address. Wait at the entrance of the villa. I'm looking for Bei Bei, Cheng Menjing said. Ah, you're still looking for Jean Bei Bei? Lu Zhiming's face immediately turned bitter. What? You don't want to treat Bei Bei? Cheng Menjing's tone changed. Of course not. The more people, the merrier. Lu Zhiming said in a hurry. It seemed that he had to be more careful in the future not to show his dissatisfaction toward Jean Bei Bei. Otherwise, it would be even less likely that Cheng Menjing would fall in love with him. Then wait for me. Cheng Menjing would not have bothered to talk to Lu Jinming if she were not going to eat youtiao. However, when she recalled that the youtiao that Xiao Qin fried yesterday was very delicious after being seasoned, she held back her displeasure and went to Lu Jinming's car. Lu Jinming waited at the entrance of Chenhua Shuibian district for almost an hour before he finally saw Jean Beibe's Panamera passing by. Lu Jinming hurried to get out of the car and shouted, "Hey, Jean Beibe." However, Jean Beibe did not respond to him at all. The car disappeared in the blink of an eye. He had intended to follow Jean Beibe to learn Cheng Menjing's address, but his plan was ruined. He could only ask Xiao Qin another day. After another half an hour, when Lu Jinming was about to turn into a fossil, he saw Jean Beibe's Panamera driving out again. "Menjing, you're here. Why don't you get in my car?" Lu Jinming hurried to get out of the car and made a gesture for her to get in. "Didn't you know that cousin Menjing's relative is here today? Why did you ask her to get out of the car when it's inconvenient for her to move? You'll be covered in blood later." Jean Beibe bared her teeth at Lu Jinming. "Well?" Lu Jinming was dazed for a moment. He immediately felt embarrassed. No wonder Cheng Menjing was in such a bad temper today. He nodded in a hurry and said, "All right. I'll lead the way." "Beibe, why did you tell everyone about it? How could you tell an outsider about it?" Cheng Menjing frowned. She was a little angry that Jean Beibe told Lu Jinming her private affairs. However, she forgot that she had just told Xiao Qin yesterday. Or rather, she was already used to Xiao Qian's presence in the villa and did not regard him as an outsider anymore. "I didn't think that much," Jean Beibe said with a smile. "Right? Can I stay at your place tonight? It's the weekend." "Okay. You can keep me company." Cheng Menjing nodded. Two cars appeared on the morning market street one after the other. However, Jean Beibe parked her car at the roadside at the entrance of the morning market street and didn't drive further inside. Naturally, Lu Jinming didn't dare to barge in. Although his car plate number was Super Awesome 001, Lu Jinming swaggered in front to clear the way. Because of Cheng Menjing's special situation, he was afraid that someone would bump into Cheng Menjing. He was a qualified escort. However, Cheng Menjing did not even look at him. In fact, Cheng Menjing looked down on a gangster like him even more than the foppish young master Xiao Qin. The three of them arrived at Xiao Qian's breakfast stall. When Lu Jinming was about to cut the queue to buy something, someone behind him objected, "Hey, what are you doing? Line up at the back." F***. Lu Jinming was about to curse, but he remembered that this was Xiao Qian's breakfast stall. He could not cause trouble. Perhaps all the people who knew him yesterday were not here. Besides, he had changed his clothes and did not drive in, so no one recognized him as the super awesome young master who dared to bump into red hair yesterday. Therefore, Lu Jinming hesitated for a moment and was about to leave. Suddenly, a shopper recognized him and hurriedly said to the unwilling shopper, "Don't shout. You can't mess with this person. He was the one who wanted to bump into red hair yesterday. You have offended him. What if he kills you later?" "What? That ruthless man?" Obviously, the shopper had also heard the gossip yesterday. At this time, he shrank his neck and did not dare to speak. The others did the same. Lu Jinming laughed and felt that he was quite awesome. He greeted Xiao Qin in high spirits. "Good morning, Xiao Qin. Help us make some breakfast." Xiao Qin nodded without saying anything. Tang Tang filled a plate of fried dough sticks and 3 bowls of soybean milk for him. When Lu Jinming was about to take it away, he heard Xiao Qin say, "Wait, where's the money?" It was not that Lu Jinming did not want to give it, but he forgot. So he hurriedly took out 100 yuan and handed it to Tang Tang. "Including tomorrow's money. Today's money may not be enough." Xiao Qin did not wait for Tang Tang to speak and directly replied to him. Lu Jinming was stunned. "I can't eat so much, can I? You don't need me to talk to Jean Beibe later? Is the service charge free?" Speaking of this, Xiao Qin shrugged and said, "Fine, I won't go." "No? Then the service charge. I will add another 100 yuan. You must come soon." Lu Jinming took out another 100 yuan and handed it to Tang Tang. Tang Tang was stunned. She took the money and thought, this Lu Jinming actually listens to Xiao Qin now? Looking at Xiao Qian's reaction, is he going to give up on Cheng Menjing? Does he not like Cheng Menjing anymore? It's impossible. If he doesn't like her, why does he continue to be her servant? Perhaps Xiao Qin knows that he has no hope, so he does this. Thinking of this, Tang Tang felt some sympathy for Xiao Qin, but she also felt a little indignant. Since Cheng Menjing had no future with Xiao Qin, she should not give him hope and let him have expectations. At about 10 o'clock, the people who came to buy fried dough sticks gradually decreased. The next peak was after 11 o'clock. Xiaoqun fried a lot of fried dough sticks, which was enough for Tang Tang to sell. So he turned around and walked to Lu Jinming. "Oh Xiaoqun, you're finally here." Lu Jinming was very anxious. Just now he sat in front of Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei like a fool. The two of them were chattering and Lu Jinming did not understand a word. He could only play with his mobile phone in boredom. However, it was worth praising that he finally succeeded in adding the WeChat ID of Fishman2 Urin 22, and sent 100 messages to him sincerely. "Hello Fishman2, I'm your loyal fan. My name is Lu Jinming." Chapter 141. Ah. Kerlin was shocked and stopped. She looked at the man with pockmarks on his face and looked very fierce. She was a little dumbfounded. "I'm sorry, D*M, little girl, do you have eyes? Why are you running so fast? Are you rushing to reincarnate? Do you know that your basketball brother, I, is going to find a partner? How can I find a partner with you all over me?" The fierce man pointed at Kerlin and shouted, "Hurry up and pay up." How much money?" Kerlin took 2 steps back in horror. She grabbed the corner of her clothes helplessly and didn't dare to look up at the fierce macho man. It's not my fault. It's you ran diagonally. What? You're still in the right after bumping into someone? You should be careful when you walk with noodles. Why are you blaming me?" Zheng Qianzhu was the instructor of a nearby dojo. He used to be a hooligan. When he had nothing to do, he also liked to extort and force girls into prostitution. He had set his eyes on Lin Ke just now, so he purposely created such a show. "Basketball brother, this little girl looks like a waitress who delivers food. Your clothes are branded goods. It's the Aster Imperial brand. It's 400 to 500 yuan. I don't think she can afford it." At this time, one of Zheng Qianzhu's followers came over. This person was also a coach in the martial arts dojo. He usually hung out with Zheng Qianzhu. His name was Wei Ji and he was also a gangster. "What should we do? We can't just let it go, right?" Zheng Qianzhu glared at Kerlin. "How about this? Little girl, you sleep with our basketball brother for a night and we'll let this matter go. 400 to 500 yuan can be used to find a very high-class lady. You see, if you can, then come with us. If you can't, then you have to pay up." Wei Ji pretended to be very kind and said, "Ah." Kerlin's face turned pale and she bit her lips subconsciously. You can't blame me? Besides, I didn't mean it. I think this condition is fine. Hurry up and choose. Don't waste time." Zheng Baiqiu threatened. "Otherwise, hurry up and compensate me for my clothes." Lu Jinming quickly ran to Tang Tang to buy breakfast, but he slipped halfway and fell on his butt. When he got up to take a look, he guessed that it was a pile of watery noodles. No wonder he slipped and fell. He immediately flew into a rage. Motherf Kerr, who threw noodles on the ground. Hence, when he turned his head to take a look, he discovered Lin Ke was weakly holding onto a plate of noodles, and in front of her stood 2 burly men. Although he didn't know what they were doing, Lu Jinming wasn't stupid. He was sure that the spilled noodles on the ground had something to do with these 3 people. "Do you want to die?" Lu Jinming pointed at the 3 of them and said angrily, "Didn't you throw the noodles on the ground and ignore them? Don't you think you're screwed?" He didn't know if Cheng Minjing saw this funny scene, so in order to save his face, he must give an explanation. Tang Tang also saw that Kerlin had a dispute with someone, but she was being called a fried dough stick. She couldn't just ignore the customers in front of her and rush over, right? Fortunately, they hadn't fought yet. It was just a quarrel. Tang Tang still had time. However, before Tang Tang could get there, Lu Jinming had already started to fight with the 3 men. "Hey Xiaoqun, isn't that your little lover over there? She's being bullied. Don't you want to go and see?" Cheng Minjing also saw Kerlin. When she saw her coming with 2 bowls of noodles, she wasn't very happy. This Xiaoqun is already down and out, and he still has the mood to continue to hook up with Kerlin? What is he thinking? However, although she was unhappy, she was a kind person. When she saw Kerlin being bullied, she still couldn't sit back and do nothing. Cheng Minjing saw it, so did Xiaoqun. When he was about to go over, he saw that Lu Jinming had a conflict with them first. Xiaoqun patted his forehead. This Lu Jinming is really a troublemaker. He can cause trouble wherever he goes. However, it seems that he's not bad. "Where are you from?" Zheng Qianzhu didn't expect that someone would come out of nowhere, but he didn't dare to go too far. The arrogant young man in front of him had an obvious martial artist's aura. Others couldn't see it, but Zheng Qianzhu certainly knew. Although Zheng Qianzhu was the coach of the martial arts club, he didn't even have the first level of internal force. Although the owner of their martial arts club was somewhat powerful, he was just an ordinary coach. He couldn't reach the level of a martial artist at all. Therefore, even if Lu Jinming wasn't a martial artist, he had the aura of a martial artist. His strength should be on par with Zheng Qianzhu. Kerlin, are you okay? Xiao Chen also walked over quickly at this time and took the tray from Kerlin's hand. Lu Jinming was slightly stunned. He directly turned around and slapped Zheng Qianzhu's face. Motherf asterisk Ker. How dare you hit Xiao Chen's woman? I think you don't want to live anymore. After that, Lu Jinming slapped Zheng Qianzhu left and right. He vented his anger on Zheng Qianzhu's face. Lu Jinming did this for a reason. He was obviously announcing that there was a relationship between Kerlin and Xiao Chen. Although Xiao Chen had Tang Tang was still too ugly. He was afraid that Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing would revive. Although this possibility seemed very small, Lu Jinming was also afraid. Therefore, when he shouted, Cheng Menjing must have seen it too. Then she would not have anything to do with Xiao Chen and take precautions in advance. On the other hand, it was also to tell Xiao Chen how good he was to him, how much he protected him, and how he would help him when there was trouble. In this way, it would be more convenient for him to ask Zheng Qianzhu to help him pursue Cheng Menjing in the future. However, Lu Jinming underestimated Zheng Qianzhu's strength. Zheng Qianzhu was also a master of internal force. Although he had not reached the martial artist realm, he was not weaker than Lu Jinming. He was stunned by Lu Jinming before. When he came back to his senses, he fought with Lu Jinming. It was reasonable to say that his strength was similar to Lu Jinming's, so Lu Jinming would not be at a disadvantage. However, Wei Ji next to him, although his strength was not as good as Zheng Qianzhu, he was also a coach of the martial arts club. When he helped from the side, Lu Jinming began to be at a disadvantage. After a few blows, Lu Jinming was beaten black and blue. He had to shout, Xiao Chen, come and help me. I can't take it anymore. Okay, I'm coming. Only now did Xiao Chen pretend to come to his senses. He ran over and kicked Wei Ji to the ground. Then he fiercely kicked Wei Ji's butt. Wei Ji let out a blood-curdling scream and felt that his anus had already prolapsed. Lu Jinming knew Xiao Chen's strength. Although he was not a martial artist, his strength was not weak. Therefore, Xiao Chen really had to help at this moment, even though he enjoyed watching Lu Jinming getting beaten up. Without the pressure from Wei Ji, Lu Jinming was still slightly stronger than Zheng Qianzhu. He quickly completed the counterattack and began to beat Zheng Qianzhu. Soon, Zheng Qianzhu's head was beaten like a basketball. Kerlin was dumbfounded by the sight. She was so scared that her whole body was trembling. Xiao Chen and his friend are too violent, right? In the past, although he was a playboy and was respected, he was not so ruthless. Has he become a big demon now? Kerlin began to fear Xiao Chen even more. Phew. Lu Jinming was tired and let out a long breath. He said fiercely, You blind fools, I'm tired. Otherwise, I'll beat you into a vegetable today. Very good. Zheng Qianzhu's eyes were red, but he also knew that a wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. The two people in front of him were not martial artists, but they were not weak. If he wanted to take revenge now, he would undoubtedly humiliate himself. However, when had he ever suffered such a loss? He pointed at Lu Jinming and Xiao Chen and said, I'll remember you. You sell youtiao here, right? Very good. You dare to beat up people from the Chao clan dojo. You're dead. With that, Zheng Qianzhu pulled Wei Ji and limped away. At least he did not lose face. If he looked for trouble later, it would be considered revenge. What Chao clan dojo? Even if you are from the Chao clan dojo, I will still beat you up. I'm from Zhangfei dojo. Lu Jinming curled his lips. Although his face was injured, he was still in a good mood. At least he won in the end. However, Xiao Chen's expression changed. He looked at Lu Jinming in shock. Young Master Lu, it's over. We've caused trouble this time. We've caused big trouble. What's the big trouble? Didn't I just beat up two idiots? Lu Jinming did not care. This Chao clan dojo is very powerful. It's nearby. They left today, but they said they would not let me go. If they bring people to trouble me, what should I do? Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. If that happens, I can only run. Young Master Lu, you will have to fight alone in the future. I can't help you anymore. Don't. Lu Jinming didn't want Xiao Chen to run away. Now it was good to have Xiao Chen as an insider. If there was no Xiao Chen, it would be difficult for him to pursue Cheng Menjing. So he quickly said, Don't worry. Don't forget what our Lu family does. If we talk about the dojo, then we are the ancestors. Xiao Chen, don't worry. I will get someone to flatten them now. That's great. Thank you, young Master Lu. Xiao Qin let out a sigh of relief with a look of lingering fear. Lu Zhiming waved his hand and dialed Lei Dianfeng's phone directly. Young Master Ming, do you have any instructions? Lei Dianfeng picked up the phone and asked. It's like this. Near the Morning Market Street there is a Chao clan dojo. Bring a few more masters and destroy them for me. Lu Zhiming ordered directly. Lei Dianfeng was stunned. How did this dojo provoke young Master Ming? What is their background? Why don't we investigate first before we make a move? Investigate what? Hurry up, don't delay my plan to pick up girls. Lu Zhiming said impatiently, a few coaches who haven't even reached the first level of inner force. What background can they have? Besides, did they inform us when they opened a dojo? After you destroy them, tell them that I, Lu Zhiming, destroyed them. Chapter 142. Okay, I got it. Young Master Ming, I will bring someone over in a while. Lei Dianfeng responded. Okay, it's done. Xiao Qin, don't worry. This afternoon the Chao's martial arts school will no longer exist. Lu Zhiming said proudly, did you see how much I protected you? We are good brothers in the future. If I have something to do, you can't ignore it. Just now, didn't I take the risk of revenge to help you? Xiao Qin said. And that's right. Lu Zhiming nodded after listening. Okay, then let's go back for breakfast. Wait for me. I will buy some food. No need. This meal is on me. Xiao Qin waved his hand generously. Okay. Although Lu Zhiming looked very happy, he secretly cursed in his heart. Just one meal. Will I have to spend money in the future? What a stingy person. But it's fine. He's not stingy and doesn't love money. I can't buy him. He asked Tang Tang to prepare some breakfast for Lu Zhiming. Xiao Qin came to Kerlin's side. Are you okay? Kerlin's body was actually splashed with a lot of soup, but it wasn't serious. However, when she saw Xiao Qin coming over, her heart was beating fast and she took 2 steps back. I'm okay. Kerlin was afraid of Xiao Qin. Why is he scarier and more brutal than before? It's good that you're okay. Xiao Qin didn't know that Kerlin was afraid of him. He thought that she was scared by Zheng Qichuan just now. Ahem, Xiao Qin, bring me a bowl of soy milk. Qing Minjing's voice sounded. She didn't know why, but when she saw Xiao Qin and Kerlin talking, she was angry. Very angry. Damn Xiao Qin. All right. Xiao Qin agreed and nodded to Kerlin. Then he said to Tang Tang, Tang Tang, help her get some fried dough sticks and soy milk and some tofu pudding. Anyway, there are a lot of them. Yes, it's ready. Tang Tang handed a bag of breakfast to Kerlin. How can I? Kerlin looked at what Tang Tang handed over and felt a little embarrassed to take it. Take it. I still have business here. Tang Tang smiled. Then, I'll bring you 2 bowls of noodles later. 5 bowls? Kerlin thought of Lu Zhiming, Qing Minjing, and Jin Beibei. Lu Zhiming had just helped him. Although this person was cruel, he still helped him. How could he not help him? And Qing Minjing's presence here made Kerlin feel a little strange. Didn't Xiao Qin break off the engagement with her? Why are they together again? Or did they resume the engagement? Alas, I really don't understand the affairs of these big families. It seems that Xiao Qin just wants to fool around with me. He still wants to be with Qing Minjing, a lady from a respectable family. Thinking of this, Kerlin lowered her head and left. Although Jin Beibei didn't know her, she subconsciously thought that she was Lu Zhiming's girlfriend. Tang Tang was a little surprised to see that Kerlin's mood suddenly turned gloomy. A touch of thought flashed across her face. Does she like Xiao Qin? It doesn't seem so. Tang Tang couldn't figure out Kerlin's real thoughts. Xiao Qin filled a bowl of soy milk with extra ingredients for Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei. The 2 of them drank it happily. Although Lu Zhiming had never drunk such delicious soy milk, the current soy milk tasted very good. Xiao Qin, your taste is very high now. You can even go to a 5-star restaurant to cook breakfast. Just to make a living. You haven't drunk it before, so you think it's delicious, said Xiao Qin. That's true. I didn't eat these roadside stalls at all before. Lu Zhiming thought so and nodded. By the way, Xiao Qin, is that pretty girl your little lover? Yes. When we were in number 1 middle school, Xiao Qin didn't like me and always pestered Kerlin. Before Xiao Qin denied it, Qing Minjing said fiercely. Xiao Qin was stunned. Did I offend her? But thinking of her special situation today, it was normal for her to have a bad temper, so he didn't explain further. I see. Lu Zhiming was overjoyed. Xiaoqun didn't like Qing Minjing before? That's great. I don't have to worry that he will steal her one day. It seems that Xiaoqun is really a playboy. But if I were not a loyal fan of Minjing, I would also be tempted. Kerlin is really a rare little beauty. Xiaoqun didn't know how to answer. Just at this time his phone rang. Xiaoqun was relieved. Otherwise it would be hard for him to answer. He picked up the phone and glanced at the caller ID. It was Qin Jinping. If it was normal times he would be quite annoyed with Qin Jinping. At this time he was very happy. Little Pingzi, what's the matter? Xiaoqun, about the racing, have you thought about it? If it's okay, I will sign you up for the competition and leave a place for you. Otherwise, you also know that the mountain road of Fighting Dragon Mountain is overcrowded on weekends. Qin Jinping answered the phone and said straightforwardly. I see, but I don't have money. Although the bonus is generous, I heard that I have to pay a deposit of 200,000 yuan. I don't have that much money. When Xiaoqun saw that Qin Jinping was so active, he knew that it was not a good thing. This deposit is not a problem. I can lend it to you. If you win, it will be yours. If you lose, I won't ask for it. Qin Jinping said. How can you lend it to me? Xiaoqun asked. Then it is yours. Qin Jinping didn't expect that he would lose another 200,000 yuan. He had to reimburse Chao Yuliang later. Okay. Then wait for me tonight. Xiaoqun said. Okay. Xiaoqun, don't forget to drive. The Porsche 991 is not bad. Qin Jinping reminded him. That is Jean Beibei's car. I'm not sure if she will lend it to me. Let's talk about it later. Xiaoqun said perfunctorily. Okay, I will wait for you. Qin Jinping curled his lips and thought, you will definitely lose if you drive a Porsche 991. If you drive a worse car, you will definitely lose. How about you lend me a car? Xiaoqun said suddenly. Ah. Qin Jinping was stunned. To be honest, it was not that he couldn't lend it to Xiaoqun. But the most important thing was that he had to kill Xiaoqun in the race. If he lent his car to Xiaoqun, there would be a problem. First of all, he didn't want his car to be gone forever. After all, if he wanted to kill Xiaoqun, his car might be destroyed and he would be killed. Second, if Xiaoqun's car was destroyed and he was killed, wouldn't he be suspected if he drove the car he borrowed? Qin Jinping didn't want to do such a strenuous and unrewarding thing. Well, young Master Xiao, you also know that both of my cars have been tricked by Jean Beibei. How can I still have a car? I still have an old sports car. Its performance is not good. It was left by my brother. A dead man's car is so unlucky. Qin Jinping tried to excuse himself. Then forget it. Xiaoqun didn't mean it. However, his question further confirmed Xiaoqun's speculation. The two of them were probably going to kill him. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so reluctant to give up a car. His second thought was the same as that of Qin Jinping. He was afraid that his car would be destroyed and he would be killed. He suspected that they had done something to the car. Otherwise, why would Qin Jinping be reluctant to give up his brother's broken car? Since he had given up 200,000 yuan, the broken car might not even be worth 200,000 yuan. Cousin-in-law, are you going to race? I want to go too. Jean Beibei heard what Qin Jinping said on the other side of the phone and shouted with great interest. Lu Zhenming rolled his eyes. If Jean Beibei went, Qing Minjing would definitely go too. That would be a great opportunity for a date at night. However, the premise was that Xiaoqun had to agree to go. Therefore he said in a hurry, Wow, Xiaoqun, I have a car at home. If you don't have one, I can lend it to you. It's a modified one. I also have Jean Beibei's car. With the help of Jean Beibei's luck, we will definitely win. Jean Beibei said. Qin Jinping was a little speechless when he heard that. F*** CK Xiaoqun's popularity is pretty good? So many people wanted to borrow his car? Who was that man? Why did Xiaoqun recruit another lackey? Also that Jean Beibei's car is F** King mine. Okay. See you tonight, Xiaoqun said to Qin Jinping. After hanging up, Jean Beibei was extremely excited. Cousin-in-law, I want to go too. Take me with you. I like the feeling of speed. Okay. Xiaoqun nodded. Cousin Minjing, cousin-in-law has agreed. Why don't you go with me? Asked Jean Beibei. Oh, okay. Seeing that Jean Beibei was going, Qing Minjing found it inappropriate to refuse. I'll go too. I'll protect you. If there are any idiots, I'll take care of them for you. Lu Zhenming volunteered. You want to go too? Little Lu, I have a mission for you. If you finish it, I'll take you with me, said Jean Beibei. What is it? Beibei, tell me. I'll do it. Lu Zhenming said in a hurry. Help me maintain Jean Beibei's car. Also check and modify it. We're going to have a race tonight. She has to be in her best condition," said Jean Bebe. After all, maintaining, checking, and modifying the car would cost a lot of time and money. Jean Bebe was not willing to do it. Fortunately, a free coolie had come to her. "Well, it's a piece of cake," Lu Jinming said. "Don't worry. Our car will definitely be the best at night." As the few of them were talking, they saw Lin Ke carrying 5 bowls of noodles over. Her petite figure was completely blocked by the large tray. If one did not look carefully, one would think that the 5 bowls of noodles had floated over from the sky. "Let me help you." Xiao Qin stood up in a hurry. He walked over and took over the big tray from Lin's hands. "You made so much." "Yes. There are 5 of us, right? I made 5 servings." Lin nodded. She looked at Xiao Qin a bit evasively. She was still a bit afraid of Xiao Qin. Chapter 143. Well, let's try your craft. Xiao Qin took the 5 bowls of noodles from the tray one by one, and then returned the tray to Lin and said, "Let Tang Tang help you pack some fried dough twists or something. Let's go back for lunch." No need." Lin shook her head quickly. Then I'll go first." After she finished speaking, Lin Ke looked as if she was escaping. She quickly picked up the tray and was about to return. However, she was grabbed by Tang Tang and stuffed a bag of fried dough twists and sesame balls into her hands. She said, "Go back and have a taste. In order to deliver noodles to us, you were almost framed. No matter what, I have to show my gratitude." "Then, thank you, sister." Lin took the bag and thanked Tang Tang with a sweet smile. "Go back, Sister Lin. Be careful on the road." Tang Tang waved her hand to her. This little girl was really weak. Tang Tang felt a little sorry for her and was afraid that someone would bully her. Some people come out to do odd jobs during work, but they also go to pick up girls. Do you think I don't exist? Cheng Minjing waited for Xiao Qin to sit down, then glared at him and said, "Pick up the noodles and treat me to it, then I will forgive you." "Okay." Xiao Qin was a little speechless. "If you want to eat spiced noodles, just say it. Why do you have to make so many excuses?" Xiao Qin picked up the noodles in front of Cheng Minjing and handed it to Cheng Minjing again and said, "Miss, please enjoy." "That's more like it." Cheng Minjing took the noodles and nodded with satisfaction. Lu Jinming sighed, watching from the side. Xiao Qin used to be a young master. Even if he offended the Cheng family, he didn't need to torture him like this, right? However, between Cheng Minjing and Xiao Qin, he naturally preferred Cheng Minjing. At this time, it was not appropriate for him to say anything. Anyway, if Xiao Qin was willing to lose face, then so be it. "Cousin-in-law, I also want VIP service," Jean Bebe said as she pointed at the board in front of her. "All right." Xiao Qin picked up the noodles and handed them to Jean Bebe. Only then did she happily take them and eat them. Finally, when Xiao Qin sat down, Lu Jinming patted his shoulder and said, "I say, Xiao Qin, it seems that being a servant is not easy. Are you like this every day?" "More or less. I'll get used to it." Xiao Qin nodded and ate the noodles indifferently. To be honest, the noodles tasted good, especially the spicy chili. Seeing that Xiao Qin and the others were enjoying the noodles, Lu Jinming also took a bite. As soon as he ate it, he was so spicy that he shouted, "Damn, why is it so spicy?" Lu Jinming didn't like chili. The soup of the noodles was not very red, but he didn't expect it to be so spicy. It was so spicy. "Little Lu, it seems that you and Cousin Minjing have different taste. Then let's not eat together in the future." "Cousin Minjing and I both like Sichuan cuisine," Jean Bebe said. I like it too. I like it a lot. I like it a lot." Lu Jinming quickly grinned. "I like chili the most. Don't you know? I often eat steamed buns with chili." "Really? That's great." Jean Bebe threw all the chili in her bowl into Lu Jinming's bowl. Then she threw all the chili that was floating on the edge of Cheng Minjing's bowl into Lu Jinming's bowl. Cheng Minjing had only eaten the spinach on the noodles and hadn't touched the noodles yet. So she didn't touch the chili at all. Lu Jinming didn't mind it and Jean Bebe didn't care about it either. Instantly, there were more than 10 chili in Lu Jinming's bowl. Well, Lu Jinming was dumbfounded. He felt like slapping himself in the face. Why did he brag so much? Did he make a mistake? However, he couldn't say that he didn't want to eat it. He could only say, "I'll eat it slowly. Little Lu, you won't dislike Cousin Minjing and me, will you? Why don't you eat it?" Although Jean Bebe said so, in fact, neither she nor Cheng Minjing had touched the chili. "Of course not. I'm more than happy to eat it. Why would I dislike it? I'll eat it. I'll eat it now." Lu Jinming took a deep breath and encouraged himself. It was the chili that Qing Menjing had eaten before. The goddess had eaten it before. It must be delicious with the help of love. Although he knew that Qing Menjing had never touched the chili with her chopsticks. Wow! Lu Zhiming's face turned green immediately after he ate a chili. However, he had to pretend that it was delicious. Yes, it's delicious. The chili is delicious. Eat more if you like it, Jean Bebe said with a smile. Yes, I'm eating it, Lu Zhiming said. After a few more bites, Lu Zhiming couldn't stand it anymore. He felt that he was burning and smoking. He hurried to say, "It's getting late. There's a match in the evening. I'd better go get my car serviced." "Oh, all right. What a waste of the chili," Jean Bebe said regretfully. "How about I pack it up for you? You can eat it while watching the match. Match with chili. You'll be happy for the whole night." "Well, the noodles must be soft at night. They won't taste good." "Forget it." Lu Zhiming almost cried. Match with chili? Happy for the whole night? He was going to cry all night. Then forget it. Cousin Menjing hates people who waste food, Jean Bebe said as she handed the car key to Lu Zhiming. "Okay, pack it up." Lu Zhiming gnashed his teeth and said, "Little Lu, you are truly a model of thrift." Jean Bebe ran to take out a food bag and poured Lu Zhiming's noodles into it. "I'll take care of it for you tonight." "Thank you." Lu Zhiming took a deep breath and gave his car key to Jean Bebe. Then he quickly disappeared. "Bebe, he won't die from the spiciness, will he?" Qing Menjing was a little worried. Although she didn't like Lu Zhiming, she didn't want him to die. "Don't worry. He won't die," Jean Bebe said. "All right." Qing Menjing finished the noodles and said to Xiaoqin, "Bebe and I will go back first." "Okay. See you tonight." Xiaoqin nodded. He had to fry the dough sticks until the afternoon. There was still a lot of business to do. After Qing Menjing and Jean Bebe left, Xiaoqin went to sell the dough sticks and Tang Tang came to eat the noodles. When she finished the noodles, it was time for lunch again. "Hey, are you going to take part in the car race tonight?" Tang Tang had overheard the conversation. "Yes, I'll go and have a look. Anyway, I can make money," Xiaoqin nodded and said. "Then be careful." "Forget it if it's dangerous," Tang Tang reminded him. "Don't worry. I'm not a kid," Xiaoqin said with a smile. Tang Tang didn't say anything else. She didn't say that she was going to go in the evening. On the one hand, she had to open the stall until the evening. On the other hand, since Qing Menjing and Jean Bebe were going, it was inappropriate for her to join them. In the afternoon, Xiaoqin said goodbye to Tang Tang and went back to prepare for the car race. The race at night was like a hongmen banquet, but Xiaoqin had to go. Sometimes, guesses were just guesses. Only when they saw it would they be sure. Coincidentally, when Xiaoqin was on his way home, he saw Lu Zhiming, who had come to deliver the car, at the entrance of the neighborhood by the Lead Hua River. "Young Master Xiao, I've maintained the car. How is it? When are we leaving?" "I'll give them a call." Xiaoqin nodded and dialed Qing Menjing's number. He told her that he and Lu Zhiming were waiting at the gate of the residential area. This time they arrived quickly. In less than 10 minutes, Lu Zhiming's Land Rover appeared in front of them. Lu Zhiming gave the car key to Xiaoqin and was about to drive the Land Rover. Unexpectedly, Jean Bebe and Qing Menjing got out of the car directly. Jean Bebe said, "I'm going to take the car of the rich Jean Bebe." Lu Zhiming was a little speechless. He had thought that Qing Menjing wouldn't change cars so he could talk to them in the car. He didn't expect that they would get out of the car as soon as they arrived. If he had known this, he wouldn't have given the car key to Xiaoqin. After he got into the Land Rover gloomily, Lu Zhiming smelled the stink of food. His car had always been well maintained. He would never put anything that smelled in the car. He did not expect that his car would end up like this after Jean Bebe drove it for one afternoon. He searched the car in a hurry, only to find a plastic bag in the trunk. He was so angry that he was about to throw it out, when he suddenly remembered that it was the bag that he had promised to pack. If he threw it out, wouldn't it be a waste? Would Qing Menjing not like him? Helpless, Lu Zhiming could only put it back. He got into his car and followed Xiaoqin's. Chapter 144. Although the scenic spot was closed, the winding mountain road still existed, although it had been in disrepair for a long time. Some of the guardrails were gone, and the road was not in good condition. However, this road had no other purpose except to lead to the top of Fighting Dragon Mountain. The businesses that operated here had all left. Who would spend money to repair the road? But even so, A nearby underworld force took a fancy to this place and developed it into a racetrack to run underground racing. Not to mention, the Fighting Dragon Mountain that no one cared about before was now bustling with noise and traffic on the weekends. One after the other, Xiao Chen and Lu Zhiming's car drove to the open space in front of the Bolong Mountain racetrack. The place was already filled with all kinds of cars, and the grades of the cars were also different. From the cheapest Alto to the top of the world-famous sports cars, there was everything. Next to the cars on the open space, there were also small groups of people, chatting, drinking and flirting with girls. Most of them were rich playboys from rich families. Xiao Chen used to be one of them. Although he didn't have a good impression of this playboy and playboy before, he had to associate himself with them. Xiao Chen parked his car. A Porsche Panamera and a Land Rover. Although they were luxury cars, they were not so eye-catching here because there were many more expensive cars. However, the golden Panamera attracted a lot of attention, and they all wanted to have a look. Xiao Chen, Cheng Menjing and Jean Beibei got out of the car. Cheng Menjing and Jean Beibei's beauty immediately attracted the attention of many playboys, and they all came over. "There are two pretty girls over there," Fapishe said. "They are so beautiful. Who is that man?" Fapishbi said. "Don't you know him? Isn't that Xiao Chen? He is the young master of the Xiao family of the 9 big families, but he has been kicked out of the Xiao family." Fapishe said. "Then why did he bring 2 such beautiful girls with him?" Fapishbi said. "A skinny camel is still bigger than a horse." Fapishe said. "Shall we go over and humiliate him? I didn't dare to step on you in the past, but now I feel quite superior." Hedonistic Second said. "That's fine too. You can also get the 2 pretty girls by his side." Hedonist First said. "Are you 2 idiots? Didn't you see what was pasted on the carriage?" Hedonist Third said. "What word?" Hedonist First asked. "Tycoon Jean Beibei's car." Hedonist C said. "Jean Beibei? Who was it?" Foppish Tyrant 2 asked. Hedonist First's expression changed upon hearing this. "She's the Jean clan's little demoness? You just found out? Didn't you almost die?" Foppish Third snorted. "Motherf asterisk her so scary, stay away from them." Hedonist First was so scared that he peed his pants. The Jean family had 2 ruthless people, the Golden Fur Lion King and Jean Beibei. Xiao Chen took out his phone and dialed Qin Jinping's number. "Little Pengzi, where are you?" "Here we are. Hurry up and pick me up. If you don't come in 10 minutes, I'll leave." Motherf asterisk her, this Xiao Chen has been kicked out of the Xiao family, but he's still so arrogant? Why is his underling coming to pick him up when he calls? Hedonist Second asked curiously. "Who knows? I've already said that a starving camel is still bigger than a horse." Hedonist First said. "Look who it is, he's actually his underling." Hedonist Third was also a little curious. After a while, he saw Qin Jinping running toward him while panting. He was really afraid that Xiao Chen would turn around and leave. However, he was afraid that Xiao Chen would borrow his car, so he didn't drive here. Instead, he hitched a ride with Chao Yuliang. Now that Chao Yuliang had gone to arrange the matter against Xiao Chen, he couldn't find Chao Yuliang, so he could only run here. If he wasn't a martial artist, he would be exhausted from running down the winding mountain road. When Qin Jinping saw Xiao Chen in the distance, he immediately shouted, "Xiao Chen, I'm here." The 3 fops were instantly dumbfounded. Why is this Qin Jinping still Xiao Chen's underling? Didn't I hear that he's already with Chao Yuliang? Or could it be that Xiao Chen had turned things around again? It's really hard to explain the affairs of the aristocratic families. Luckily, they didn't go looking for trouble just now. Otherwise, even without Jean Beibei, Qin Jinping could still beat them to death. "Not bad, we're here in 9 minutes. Little Peng, you're still as punctual as before." Xiao Chen nodded his head in satisfaction. "Ah, Xiao Chen is here to race. Of course, I have to come to welcome him. Don't worry, it's all set up. 200,000 deposit. If I win, I'll get 400,000. If I lose, I'll lose 200,000. As usual, best of 5. Qin Jinping introduced. In fact, it wasn't that easy to win 200,000 in a race. Best of 5 meant that you had to race at least 3 times, and you had to win all 3 times in order to get 200,000 from your opponent. The underground racetrack didn't take any commission from the racers' bets. What they earned was the peripheral bets. "Yes." Xiao Chen nodded his head. "Who's my opponent?" "I don't know yet. But Brother Liang said to try to persuade the racetrack to arrange new racers for you, so that your chances of winning will be higher." Qin Jinping said, "Of course, it doesn't matter even if he's an old racer. After all, Xiao Chen is the racing god." "Aha, that's right. I won in my first race." Xiao Chen laughed after listening. I used to think that 200,000 was too little. It was meaningless to compete in person. Otherwise, I would have become a legend long ago, Xiao Qin said. And that means I'll become a legend of death. Do you really think I'm stupid? That's right. When Qin Jinping saw Xiao Qian's arrogant attitude, he was relieved. He was afraid that Xiao Qin would shrink back after coming. Now it seemed that there was no problem. This Xiao Qin is still the same as before, arrogant and proud. Now he has become greedy. Xiao Qin, don't worry. I've talked to Brother Liang. You'll be the first to race. That's good. I don't have that much time. If I win the race here, I can go back to the morning market to set up my stall. Xiao Qin nodded. Then I'll make the arrangements. By the way, Xiao Qin, which car will you be using? Qin Jinping asked. This Panamera. Xiao Qin pointed to Jean Beibei's car and said. No problem. Qin Jinping heaved a sigh of relief. This Panamera was personally remodeled by him. Although he spent a lot of money, most of the modifications were flashy and impractical. In terms of overall performance, it was a notch lower than a professional sports car. It would be a wonder if Xiao Qin could win a race with this car. Moreover, the car was Jean Beibei's. If Xiao Qin died, no one else could be blamed. Qin Jinping was not afraid of others, but he was afraid that the Jean family would be unhappy. After all, the Xiao family didn't care about Xiao Qin anymore, neither did the Qing family. Only the Jean family sent out an inexplicable notice. If Xiao Qin died, the Jean family would be the only one who could stand up for him. Now, if Xiao Qin died in Jean Beibei's car, who would the Jean family blame? He nodded and went to inform Qiao Yuliang happily. On the other side, Lu Zhiming didn't know Xiao Qian's driving skills in the past. He thought that Xiao Qin was really awesome. His family was in the underworld, so his level was not very high. Lu Zhiming had never been to an underground racetrack before. This was his first time. On the other hand, Qing Minjing frowned. Even she could tell that there seemed to be a problem with this, yet Xiao Qin still foolishly agreed to it. She didn't know if he was really stupid or what. Sometimes he looked quite smart, but sometimes he was just a fool. When he lost money, he would cry. At this time, Qing Minjing's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and found it was Xin Jingxian. Hello, Jingxian. Qing Minjing answered the phone. Minjing, is there anyone around you? Xin Jingxian deliberately lowered her voice on the other side of the phone. No. Tell me. Qing Minjing moved aside to avoid Lu Zhiming. In fact, there was a hubbub of voices nearby. It was so noisy that they couldn't hear what was said on the phone. Minjing, I heard that Xiao Qin is coming to participate in the race? Is there such a thing? Xin Jingxian asked. Yeah, how did you know? You're here too? Qing Minjing was a little curious. And I came with Qin Jinping, Xin Jingxian said. Can you persuade Xiao Qin to give up the race? What? Qing Minjing asked. This is the case. They helped Xiao Qin sign up for the race. In fact, it was a trap set up by him and Qiao Yuliang. The driver who will compete with Xiao Qin was invited by them. His name is Li Shanpao. This person often participates in some international underground races. His participation rate is very high. You can know him just by asking around. Xin Jingxian said anxiously, so Xiao Qin can't win. It's not a big deal to lose money, but don't lose your life. This Li Shanpao is best at putting his opponents to death in racing competitions. Xin Jingxian didn't know why she called Qing Minjing. It was reasonable to say that she and Qin Jinping were married, so she should stand on the side of Qin Jinping in the future. However, maybe she didn't like Qin Jinping, or maybe it was because she was kind and didn't want anything to happen to Xiao Qin. What? Qing Minjing suddenly froze. She felt that there was a problem before, but she only thought that Qiao Yuliang and Qin Jinping wanted to cheat Xiao Qin of his money. They used gambler's psychology to make Xiao Qin lose money, but she didn't think that there was a possibility of killing Xiao Qin. After a while, Qing Minjing said, I got it. Xiao Qin, come with me for a moment. After hanging up the phone, Qing Minjing glared at Xiao Qin angrily. However, it was inappropriate to say something in front of Lu Zhiming. She had to remind Xiao Qin alone in case he died without knowing how he died. However, after taking 2 steps, Qing Minjing saw that Lu Zhiming was looking at her and wanted to follow her. She frowned and winked at Jean Beibei. Hey little Lu, where are you going? Jean Beibei stopped Lu Zhiming immediately. I'm going to see what they're talking about. Lu Zhiming didn't hide anything. Anyway, he had decided to be Qing Minjing's gum and stick to her wherever she went. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.